believe that I am the best person for the job of President of the United States. My unique talents give me the ability to be assertive and diplomatic at the same time. I'm a person who will spike the conversation, who will get politics rolling and stimulate new questions and new answers to our current political dilemma facing our nation. I believe I have a keen understanding of the economy and how to improve where we're at relative to other nations around the world. I believe that our goal at America's Third Party was to create a very strong platform in which would propel the American people forward with new opportunities and a new possibility of creating a better nation, a cleaner environment, and less war.
Your reaction to the 4 officers involved in this incident being fired?
Well, my initial response is, that's a start.
I believe that I am the best person for the job of President of the United States. My unique talents give me the ability to be assertive and diplomatic at the same time.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to America's Third Party. I'm David Sponheim. Today is Freedom Friday. Hello. I hope you're all having a wonderful time. We're processing some pretty amazing stories right now. Minneapolis is still very much on fire. And it turns out that Minneapolis was also the center of the 5G deployment this past year. We pulled a story up last night and we found out that Minneapolis has been literally becoming the de facto 5G testing center. Now, why would the first city to go live with the 5G network in the US be the center of a major riot? And what is the connection? Is there a connection? We don't know. But I can tell you there's a lot of things spinning around this story that just don't make sense. A couple of things. George Floyd, when he allegedly died, was carted away by 2 cops. That's right. They were carrying him away in a gurney. And it's very strange that cops would be running an emergency medical vehicle. So you got to wonder why cops were out there at the time. They weren't EMT workers. They were cops. And why didn't they give George Floyd chest compressions to revive him when he allegedly died? Now, we're also bringing up some pretty weird stories about a guy that was breaking windows a couple days ago at the AutoZone. Turns out he's a cop. This is the guy they saw with a ball-peen hammer outside the AutoZone in Minneapolis 2 days ago, bashing in the windows, and somebody followed him down the street, and we'll play that for you later. Turns out he's a St. Paul police officer. Why would a St. Paul police officer be breaking down windows? That's another strange thing. Unless, of course, they were trying to start a riot, which is exactly the end result. And, of course, all the people in Washington, D.C. are saying, oh, this is a terrible thing, riots, we got to, and then they want martial law, right? Well, that's because we've got a failed COVID-19 event going on where they didn't get enough people dying. I don't know. The 5G connection is still a little bit mysterious to me. I don't know if there's any connection, but I just thought I'd share that Minneapolis is the first city in America to go fully 5G. That's an odd little factoid. But why did George Floyd work with the guy, the person in question? Why was there a relationship between the two? That's another interesting odd thing that we'll be looking at. Apparently, they both worked at the same club for 17 years. I mean, this is too coincidental to think that there's not some sort of an inside deal going on here. Now, we believe that George Floyd died. We don't have absolute proof of it. We just have a guy laying there inert on the ground and then being carted away in a gurney. Okay, I'll take a look at that, Sammy. We're going to look at this video of a woman, allegedly a wheelchair-bound woman. Okay, could we wait on that for a second? Thanks. We're trying to get to the bottom of why George Floyd worked with this guy, the cop, Chauvin, who, by the way, his neighbors said they never thought that he even was a cop. His neighbors were interviewed, and they said that we didn't know he was a cop all these years. So this guy worked inside a club for security. Yeah, they worked together at this club. According to the club owner, the former owner of the El Nuevo Rodeo Club says that she knows both men at the center of the Minneapolis recent protests. She hired them both at her club in 2019, but she cannot recall if the two actually knew each other. Chauvin was our off-duty police officer for almost the entirety of the 17 years they were open, and they're working together at the same time. It's just that Chauvin worked outside and the security guards were inside. Well, you know, when people are thinking about, you know, what they're doing in their career and they get to talking, and the white guy talking to a black guy is like, you know, I bet we can make a lot of money doing a big staged event. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, because we know for a fact that Antifa is being brought in to make these revolts, and Black Lives Matter was brought in to make these revolts go bigger than they should be. We know that George Soros is funding this. You know, George Soros is a friend of Mr. Deep State himself, Donald Trump. George Soros actually financed a building for Donald Trump, a $160 million building he financed. So, and by the way, Donald Trump never says bad things about George Soros, but here's George Soros, the New World Order puppet, just like Trump, trying to foment the crisis by paying rioters to come in there and start up an even bigger problem. Dave, the Floyd thing is not real. They're messing with people's minds again. All that BS about Floyd think is a scam just to bring in the New World Order and faster. I totally agree. Catnip, 2 cats in town. We got agreement over here. Guest 135 at iVlog. He says the same thing. Yeah. All I'm saying is we are so tired of seeing events started to create division in America that we need to unite in the middle of the political spectrum. And of course we don't want brutality to occur to black people or white people or Hispanics or Asians. We need to stop brutality by cops. This is not a black versus white thing. This is a brutality problem that we have to address. It's designed to bring the New World Order in faster, exactly. They want martial law. They want to justify martial law, and they want to take all our rights away, or at least attempt to. Now, the COVID-19 thing did not produce the necessary numbers of dead. They claim 100,000 people died of COVID-19 in the U.S. so far. That number is really 20,000, because 8 out of 10 of those COVID tests are inaccurate, based on the study that they use, the PCR test. Yeah, it's a proteinase chain reaction test, which is traditionally very inaccurate. Even the guy that created said it shouldn't be used on viruses. I mean, come on. There is no gold standard for the test. They're running off at the mouth trying to say everybody needs to be tested when they don't even have a test that'll work. Okay, we got a lot of live footage here. Now, in the past days, CNN managed to do a couple of things. They put together a fake video where a guy allegedly is being arrested. Here he is. A black guy, mind you, a black reporter being arrested by cops standing around him. I'm going to play some footage of this CNN thing. It's ridiculous. It's just complete fakery. Trying to foment more and more aggression between whites and blacks. This is what CNN does. The Democrats love to create racism.
And this is a scene here playing out in Minneapolis. This is part of the advanced police presence that we saw come over the course of really minutes when the local police showed up at the fire department, or with the fire department, I should say, on that building we showed you that was burning. This is among the State Patrol unit that was advancing up the street, saying and scattering the protesters at that point for people to clear the area. And so we walked away. I'm sorry?
You're under arrest.
Okay. Do you mind
Whoa,
telling
whoa,
me
whoa.
why I'm under arrest, sir? Why am I under arrest, sir?
Look at how gingerly they're holding on to him, like, oh, we don't want to hurt you. This is obviously staged. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's totally staged. It was even characteristically, they were standing by the reporter, ready to go in. This is what CNN does all the time. They fake racial conflict.
Okay.
We're arresting him live on CNN. We told you before that we are with CNN.
Anyway, I don't want to play more of this BS propaganda, but this is not real. This is obviously fake. You know, we saw the real stuff when Derek was out there, you know, the man who runs the Minneapolis live stream video, and that was real. But now you got all these interlopers coming in, and we showed you the cop that was breaking the windows of the auto store. Oh yeah, this is what they do. They try to create conflict. You know, back in the free speech movement in the 1960s, there were FBI agents intermixing all the people there, and they were getting violent. It's always the FBI agents that are put in there to get violent. They seed the crowds to turn them violent so that they interrupts the protest rally, which is a legitimate protest rally, in this case against brutality against black people, or anybody for that matter. Okay, we got other things spinning out of control with Trump. Trump tries a new response. Okay, now Trump is acting like he knows George Floyd. He cares.
Yeah, thanks for being here, guys. We're gonna stick with this as long as it goes on. He switched to sprint. What is this?
Okay, yeah, we just had a live thing go live just now as I walked by it. This is still live going on. They've got crashed out windows in Minneapolis. We'll be looking at a lot of this footage coming up.
What is this shit?
Do you want to be a part of the next generation?
This guy's been doing live streaming for the past 2 days straight. Now, Donald Trump is doing some pretty bad things with China. Yeah, he's moving on in ways that we have to put this in perspective, because I'll get on to more of the Minneapolis problems as well, but let's put this in perspective. Donald Trump owes China $600 million personally, okay? He personally decided to put 30% tariffs against China, triggering a trade war. He purposely arrested Meng, the chief financial officer, and charged her with crimes that were pumped up crimes against China regarding trade with Iran, violating our economic sanctions, whatever. That only created more of a problem. Okay, so now Donald Trump is creating an even bigger problem by, number one, condemning the World Health Organization, which he has every right to do, but then blaming China for this when clearly the origin of the virus is not China, it's the US. And everything points to Bill Gates. So instead of turning on Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci, the people that he should be firing right now, the ones that ordered COVID positive people to be put into nursing homes around all these vulnerable people, which is in and of itself murder, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx need to be charged with murder for making an order along with the entire COVID task force, because they literally took people that were contaminated and put them around the most vulnerable people. That's why it spread so fast. We know now that they are committing murder, eldercide. Now they're running their mouth off about this racial problem, which is not a problem. It's just another diversion, another distraction, because the New World Order is not getting what they want. They want all of us hiding in our houses, afraid to go out, waiting to be zip-tied and sent away to the FEMA camps. That's what they want. And if we don't submit to their chipping and all of their RFID chipping and all their vaccines, then we're going to go to the FEMA camps. That's what their primary goal is. So everything we're seeing right now is heading toward that direction. That's what's happening right now. That's what we're dealing with. So we are aware of an even bigger problem that's so far in advance of what we think. They've been working on this for decades. They've been doing this. You saw the Rockefeller Foundation develop an entire profile in 2010 that dealt with exactly this, a biological weapon being deployed. We saw Event 201 and Bill Gates and Johns Hopkins University working in tandem with Dr. Fauci and others to create the virus that literally they're saying is the source of this problem. And when Bill Gates has a patent on that virus, you got to wonder what's happening. Oh yeah, our governor right now is already setting up internment camps here in Washington. COVID internment camps are being set up in Washington right now by Governor Inslee. He's taken a $20 billion draw on our debt, seriously, to buy these trailers and put them in all our state parks because he wants to quarantine everybody by force. Seriously. And we didn't even use any of the setups, the COVID testing centers. We didn't use more than a few of these things. 30 testing centers the military spent $666 million on. Yeah. That's how much money was spent on all these emergency tents that were outside of 30 cities. That's a serious number, 666 million, yeah. I know. Who would have ever thought they'd spent that much on it? But none of that happened. But this governor decided to draw $20 billion out of our budget and buy trailers. Somewhere in some trailer park, there's a trailer salesman going, wow, I had the best year ever. We sold all this stuff to Jay Inslee. And then all those COVID testing centers, 30 of them were never even used. Yet they claim that we've got a major need for the COVID testing, and it's not even accurate. Like I said, it's 80% inaccurate. So clearly there's so many things spinning out of control that it's hard to even digest. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go jumping around here. This was a terrible bit of violence that occurred in Michigan around the same time. A couple of people were protesting somebody being shot, and they were staying at the crime scene. They wouldn't leave, so the cops forced them to leave. They said that, injustice was going on. Well, watch the injustice here of this big white cop beating up on this black woman. Anyway, that's a side issue. That's like more violence on top of the existing violence. And then essentially all assets have been deployed. They've got white supremacists standing outside guarding buildings that were looted or want to be not looted. And they've got that show of force, which looks almost like a setup too.
Ended up here. We've been moving around and just trying to see what's what without getting necessarily completely slapped by massive groups of people. And while we were walking, somebody mentioned that there were some guys at the back of us after we wanted to know if they were over to go buy something. And they said that they're closed and they're defending their businesses.
You mean to tell me Officer Derek Chauvin, who's pictured kneeling on the back of George Floyd's body and neck, is the same guy wearing this Make Whites Great Again cap?
Now look at this. This is another piece of propaganda. This guy's got 192,000 subscribers. He calls himself True Reporting. He should change his name to False Flag Reporting. He's a black guy protesting a white guy who's wearing a MAGA cap who looks like the officer in charge. You see what's happening? The media machine is just trying to drum up all kinds of racial hostility here because, believe me, the New World Order loves this stuff. Well, the New World Order is the Chinese are part of the New World Order. China, Russia, and U.S. oligarchs equal New World Order. Yeah, there's a lot of cooperation going on. on. But remember, Donald Trump is playing up the angle of, oh no, we're not cooperating. He's now starting a war of words. Let's listen in to Donald Trump. Now, they're going to play the whole China versus the U.S. thing like it's a big problem. But believe me, the New World Order is using that whole thing to divide and conquer. This is what they do. They still have a really good relationship, the New World Order does, with China, the U.S. oligarchs, and Russia. But they're playing up this division because, remember, the New World Order is willing to have Russia and China and U.S. go to conventional war if necessary, because the New World Order's primary goal is depopulation. So if we go to war with China, it's a win-win for them. Remember, their goal is to get rid of 90% of the Earth's population. Here they go with their puppet Donald starting a war with China. Watch this.
Chinese officials ignored their reporting obligations to the World Health Organization and pressured the World Health Organization to mislead the world when the virus was first discovered by Chinese authorities. Countless lives have been taken and profound economic hardship has been inflicted all around the globe. They strongly recommended against me doing the early ban from China, but I did it anyway and was proven to be 100% correct. China has total control over the World Health Organization, despite only paying $40 million per year, compared to what the United States has been paying, which is approximately $450 million a year. We have detailed the reforms that it must make and engage with them directly, but they have refused to act. Because they have failed to make the requested and greatly needed reforms, we will be today terminating our relationship with the World Health Organization and redirecting those funds to other worldwide and deserving urgent global public health needs. The world needs answers from China on the virus. We must have transparency. Why is it that China shut off infected people from Wuhan to all other parts of China? It went nowhere else. It didn't go to Beijing. It went nowhere else. But they allowed them to freely travel throughout the world, including Europe and the United States.
Well, let's not forget that Donald Trump didn't stop the travel from China into the United States like he said. In fact, we've seen flights from all over China for the past 3 months. And we've been tracking them over at Flight Radar 24, and we saw passenger flights coming from China. So Donald Trump said he was stopping flights from China. He lied. Just like right now, he's saying he's pissed off at China. That's just a cover, man. Bottom line is they own his debt. He has a $600 million debt with China. And in 2022, if he doesn't meet the debt requirements, they'll repossess a lot of his assets. So it plays in his favor right now to create this war with China. But the people that run Donald Trump, they know full well they control President Xi, because President Xi has money managed by the Rothschilds. And most of China's economy is managed by the Rothschilds because they wanted to build up their currency against potential attacks. Well, siding with the devil is not exactly the way to build up your economy. In fact, producing massive amount of products and killing the environment hasn't been a very good plan for China either. But China's got bigger problems of their own that are irrelevant to Donald Trump's debt of $600 million he owes China. He won't talk about that in this thing, but you can tell a lot of the friction he's creating with China is to get out from under his debt. And that's been the problem. Donald Trump has been engaging in trade relations for the U.S. while he had a personal debt with China. That is part of this problem, part and parcel. Is China solely responsible for this virus? Hell no. I tend to believe China's view that this started at the sporting event because of U.S. people coming in who were contaminated. There's more and more evidence to support that belief, less that it was coming out of a wet market in Wuhan. So as we look forward, I don't believe hating China at this point is the pathway, but yet Donald Trump is doing just that. So in the ultimate big picture, we're going to have to find a way to shore up all of our nation's status against a New World Order Illuminati takeover of all of our nations. So this process of building up our country with a third party is in and of itself a strike against the heart of the New World Order. If we can build this party and get me on the ballot or get me voted through write-in, we can ultimately put the shock of fear in the New World Order. Right now, they think they've got everything under control. They've got the two-party puppets working perfectly for them, and the marionettes like Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi are doing whatever they say. The New World Order puppet masters don't plan on anything like a third party. In fact, I can tell you emphatically that we've had hostile takeover attempts from people who are at the top of the financial world. I'm not making this up. We had a hostile takeover of our name at third party on Twitter. We got a cease and desist letter from some ridiculous attorney that worked for the Carlyle Group. It was unbelievable. And thus Jacob Rothschild owns the Carlyle Group. This is about 7-8 years ago. We saw major problems with our websites. We had them all shut down. We had to revive the whole site. Even if you go to America's Third Party's original site, we had to pull it back from wherever it was. We rebuilt it. But the original site was completely hacked. And I'm not saying the Carlyle Group did that, but an attorney for the Carlyle Group posted all kinds of complaints about our name and all of our domain names. Now that's just not supposed to happen. That's a very, very weird play by the Carlyle Group. So we know that their weakest link is a third party. Their other weakest link is the pedophilia that they're hiding with all of this play between Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates, Donald Trump and his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and Boris Epstein, the cousin of Jeffrey Epstein, who's now his senior campaign advisor in the 2020 election for Donald Trump. All this stuff points to a New World Order takeover of our country. And believe me, if we can build this party and right in the center of the political spectrum and unite people based on our Bill of Rights, because clearly the Democrats, Republicans have forgotten our Bill of Rights, your freedoms, that's right, your freedoms are the centerpiece of this party. That's what's going to stop these bastards. Oh, and then we'll go after the head of the snake. And we will look at Bill Gates being charged for war crimes at the Hague. We're going to look at him as a possible investigation into Jeffrey Epstein as well. Now, if you really want accountability from all of the things that have been happening in this country from a genuine arbiter in the middle of the political spectrum, I will be that arbiter. I will be that person to initiate the process of stopping these evildoers that are trying to meddle in our election process. Now, Donald Trump complaining about write-in ballots was a disaster. It's backfired on him. Yeah, now there people are thinking that even Donald Trump's statement about inciting violence in Minneapolis, when he said, they loot, we shoot. That had a disclaimer. Twitter has to put a disclaimer on there now. So even Donald Trump is putting out violent statements, inciting violence, and Twitter had to say, don't do that. Again, it's backfiring on Trump. Now, I talked about reinstating the fairness doctrine. I even tweeted Trump about that, and no response, of course. But I believe that's our best pathway to getting honesty back into the media, not these Band-Aid attempts by Donald Trump and his clan of cronies in the White House that think they can come up with some new law. They don't draft legislation at the White House. But the fairness doctrine's already been drafted, just needs to be reinstated. It's designed to make people stop censoring people. You have to open up all opinions on networks. You don't have to give equal time. You just have to allow people to have their expressed opinion. And when YouTube tells me I can't talk about the World Health Organization, which Donald Trump is now suspending relationship with, they said to everybody on YouTube, we weren't allowed to talk about that. So tonight I'm talking about it because it's news. But for some reason, Donald Trump never had a problem talking about it. So they've been censoring people trying to discuss the dangers of the World Health Organization for the past 2 months, telling them they're going to lose their YouTube account. But now Donald is running his mouth off and then pretty much disposing of our relationship with the World Health Organization, which, by the way, I approve of. I do not approve of the World Health Organization. I approve of what Donald Trump is doing. So in no way should we have a relationship with an organization that engages in so many lies and deceit. And Trump's right. China did get the Tedros to become the chairman or the director of the World Health Organization, and that's a problem because Tedros is a terrorist, a known terrorist, a communist terrorist from his home country. So we have a big, big problem with the World Health Organization, but Donald Trump will not make a commitment to not force vaccinate you. He said he feels the same way about vaccines as he does testing. Well, the testing is a joke. He feels the same way about tests. He wants to test everybody. He said, oh, we'll get 3 million tests out a day. That means he wants 3 million vaccines done when they have a vaccine for you. There will never be a vaccine for this virus. It is mutating constantly. They've tried to create vaccines for the past 13 years, and they failed. 17 years, actually. Since 2003, they've been working on vaccines for the coronavirus. All right, let's get to your show here. We got Jimmy Carter issues, yeah, okay. News? Okay, let's take a look at your news. I don't think that's appropriate. No. No. You're throwing a lot of weird links at me. I don't want to listen to some poor kid imitating his parents, okay? We got other news that's important, man. Trump tries a new response after George Floyd's death. Let's take a look. This is more propaganda, I'm sure.
With that being said, I'd like to state that although we wear the same uniform and although we wear the same badge and our job descriptions may similar in many ways, me and every good cop in the department are different from that heinous act that has transpired in Minneapolis.
But I think it's important for Fort Smith and for our community for me to step up and say something, because silence is not working.
This is so canned. I'm not going to even bother playing it. It's so canned. It's like these guys were scripted to pretend like they really care. And, you know, I got a kick out of how Donald Trump said, oh, he really cared about George Floyd. And, you know, it's like he knew him or something. You know, a lot of grandstanding, a lot of pretending, and a big attempt by Trump and the New World Order puppets that run him to push for an agenda of racial disharmony. Now, Mark Zuckerberg is piping up, acting like he's the gossamer beacon of truth, and he's never, ever done anything bad. This is really funny. Now, we outed Mark Zuckerberg a couple weeks ago. Yeah, we showed you guys that Mark Zuckerberg is actually one of the Rothschilds. We used to think this was a conspiracy theory, but it's becoming more and more real. The grandchildren of the Rothschilds were big friends gathered together at a meeting here many years ago, and you can see that every one of them has now evolved into different people. Edward Snowden was Edward Greenberg. Jacob Greenberg is now Jacob Applebaum, in charge of the Tor server, and Mark Zuckerberg is Mark Greenberg, the grandson of David Rockefeller. Got all that money and pretends like he got it because he's just a bright guy. No. The Rockefellers are at the center of this entire attack on our country. The Rockefellers have been deceiving us with their names alone. And Mark Zuckerberg saying Trump's Minneapolis shooting post did not violate Facebook's policies is like him sucking up to Donald Trump. There's talk that Donald Trump is going to choose Mark Zuckerberg as a VP for 2020. I'm not kidding. So we need to out these Rockefellers and get the truth out there. I'll take a look at your link. Yeah, that was pretty good. We saw that last night. Yeah, the link is just describing what looting is going on. While people are looting stuff at the stores in Minneapolis, amateur looters, you got professional ones in Congress that are doing the same thing. Exactly. Pelosi, Schumer, that's right. All these, McCarthy, oh yeah, they're all trying to make money. Mitch McConnell, Moscow Mitch. Good point, Bengalitis. Thank you. But Mark Zuckerberg's trying to kiss up here and acting like he's just a wonderful guy and he would never ever censor anybody on Facebook. Oh my God. Facebook was knocking people down last week whose parents died of something other than COVID, and they said on Facebook, my dad didn't die of COVID. They lost their account. And now Mark Zuckerberg's acting like, oh no, he's the bastion of niceness. He would never hurt anybody and knock anyone out. Oh my God. So you got to understand, these Rockefellers are the worst characters on earth. They come from a line of scumbags. Avery Rockefeller, the father of John D. Rockefeller, was a womanizing. He had multiple wives. He dealt in narcotics when it was legal to deal in narcotics. That's how he acquired his money, and then he handed that money to John D. Rockefeller, who dealt the same type of narcotics, but then became the big pharma guy. And the Rockefeller industry is pretty much synonymous with big pharma. What is their big plan? Well, they want to repeat what they did in 1918 when they infected the vaccine pool with a very deadly strain of influenza B virus, and they killed 100 million people, the Rockefellers did, in 1918. So much so that they don't want to have anyone know that, so they're going out on the wiki and they're scrubbing the wiki. I pulled up information about this before the wiki was scrubbed, and I've got all the text as it originally appeared. But you go there now, you won't even find that history. They're scrubbing the wiki about what happened 100 years ago, about how they poisoned the vaccine pool. So here they go again. They got Bill Gates, their puppet, to do their bidding. They promoted his career. He got a free ride when IBM bought 2 million operating systems from him and launched his massive success. Now Bill Gates is this squirmy looking guy that looks like he's got some sort of a pedo record with Jeffrey Epstein. I think Bill Gates has some dirt on him, allegedly. I think that they're using that against him to push their agenda of COVID IDing and chipping and all kinds of things, and dangerous vaccinations. Now, like I said before, there's no way they're going to come up with a vaccine for a mutating virus. Logic tells you that. They'll never have herd immunity either for a mutating virus. Logic tells you that too. But oh no, Donald won't tell you that this is a man-made virus. Donald won't tell you that there's 110 variants of this virus. Donald won't even tell you that the virus is no worse than the common severe seasonal flu. Donald won't tell you anything. Donald won't tell you that women men are twice as prone than women of getting this. Donald won't tell you that blacks are twice as prone than whites of getting this. You got to get this from me. It's kind of sad. Donald won't tell you that the virus has 4 major markers in its DNA helix that match the AIDS viruses. All of them. Donald won't tell you anything. But he does tell you that he's going to separate relations with China because what? China allegedly spread the virus and didn't talk about it? I would rather work on a substantively, like a sound plan of relating to China, as opposed to naming and blaming like Donald is doing. I would rather look at the bigger picture and say, yes, we both have problems as a nation. We both have to correct our problems, and we need to acknowledge that we have problems. If we could get China to acknowledge that they've got some problems, that would be the first step toward new détente with that country. But what Donald Trump is doing is a slash and burn attack on our relations with China, claiming they're guilty of this, that, and the other thing. That is not in the spirit of peace on earth. Donald is trying to create a problem with China because Donald owes $600 million to China. That's what's going on. You can take it or leave it, believe it or not. The fact is, him terminating our relationship with China is just icing on the cake. And it's a pretty ugly situation. So we're galvanizing a third party based on your freedoms, our freedoms, First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment. We're not going to stand down. If Donald Trump doesn't understand that we, the American people, want a commitment that we will not be force vaccinated, we will not be force tested, then we can talk about Donald again. But until Donald and Joe Biden make that commitment, we've got to look at a third party to stop these people, because their big agenda is to inject weird stuff in our bodies, and God knows what's in that chip that they talk about putting in our bodies. I won't take it. I don't know many people that will take it. They say 25% of our population would gladly take an RFID chip. Well, 75% will not take it, okay? And they rule. The majority rules. So don't think for a second that we're going to sit back and watch the two parties ever fight for your rights. Unless one candidate can say no forced vaccinations like I've said, they aren't worth your time at the voting ballot or with an absentee ballot. they're not worth your time. Sarah's here. I'm going to bring in the background and enjoy.
Thank you. All right, I am here. How are you all doing tonight? Let me see. I've got different, what is this? That's iVlog over there. Usually we put DLive up above and iVlog down below. That sounds quite menacing, 630. Okay. Hi, J-Mix. I am doing well. Yeah, I had a nice day today. It was, David and I went for a little drive today, so that was good. And yeah, I'm very well. Okay, thanks, Mad Dog. There's quite a few different types of people that come into the chat room. Bye, Catnip. Take care. Catnip to Cats in Town. Okay. That's, yes, go ahead and you can stroke his ego, Draking. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, God. I'm glad that they're not protesting in my town. And I know, like, I'm sad that all this violence is happening in the world, but I'm glad that it's not happening in my town. How are you all doing? Hello, G Nightcloud, and so it's usually Dragging, Mad Dog, Misanthropy sometimes. Okay, the Foil 2. You say CNN is being attacked right now. Tinfoil 2 says, and Ron, I don't know, are you guys still there, Ron? And Tinfoil 2 over at DLive. Okay. Oh. Slim and None 3630. Hello, the dude. The dude abides. The dude lives. Yeah, I like the idea of just, I guess I like keeping my head in the sand. I don't like looking at all the news. I mean, I'd be good at it, but I don't really like all the negative stuff that I hear in the news. Even though I do wear a mask when I go shopping, just to be on the safe side, because that news filtered up. But David is in the other room, is instead of in the green screen. I'm just gonna clear out this chat. I'm just tired of looking at all that. Good night, 630. Thank you for joining us for a little bit. Good wishes to you. Thank you, chat room celebrity. I just started over. I cleared both chats, this and iVlog. I'm like determining on whether, hi, don't worry, be happy. Thank you. I'm deciding what do I want to do. Do I want to do like fall into the trap of looking at the news? Not really. Do I want to just Be quiet, be silent. Yes, generally. Do I want to hear about your life? Sure, absolutely. Do you have any siblings? I have quite a few. That's the problem with like broadcasting, is that, you know, you have to feel that there's this desire to fill the airtime always. Sarah, is it hot out today where I'm at? I don't think it's that hot, no. Is it hot where you're at? 94 degrees. Whew, that's hot. You're on the other side of the mountains, right? Over in the, like, near the Tri-Cities. Yeah, it gets hot over there. My friend, so one of my best friends, I would say she's one of my best friends. She moved over near there, north of there, south of Hannaford, but north of Kennewick. And yeah, it's like, the thing is, it gets really hot in the summer and you guys get really cold in the winter. And I like it here near the water, because near the water it's the same, it's usually moderate temperature all the time. Humid where don't worry, be happy is, well, actually I'm in what's called a rain shadow, so we get more overcast days than actually rainy days. Some days are more like misty and some are like a light rain, but ironically on the I've never had that done, Mad Dog. On the, just on the other side of the water in Marysville, they get a lot more rain than we do. Yeah, it seems like that. Where you are, don't worry, be happy, it's a chemical haze. Is it, are you down in Southern California, is that right? I remember the days of chemical haze because I grew up in Riverside, California, and it was just, oh, Jersey. Oh my goodness. Jersey's way worse. Actually, Jersey's about the same as when I grew up in Southern California. I don't know. Some parts of Jersey are nice. I actually went and stayed in a nice part of Jersey. But it was like south of where you are. But I stayed in a nice, I thought it was a nice, it was really cool. It was a Comfort Inn, and it was, I'd have to look up the city, but it was south of Jersey. It was off the 95, and it was just north of, it was on the 95. Wait. Am I right? 95? That's, yeah, because we've got the 5 over here. You guys have the 95. Let me look. But it was really cool. It was, maybe it was North Jersey. Because we mapped around New York. And so maybe it was like 395. Yeah, the 95 goes all the way through Jersey. Oh, maybe not Jersey. I'm like New Jersey, the whole country. I mean the whole state rather than Jersey, the city. Is, maybe I'm confused. But of course, I wrapped this around New York, so we did like 287. Maybe it was Edison. Princeton, Trenton. It was interesting though, because it was 95, you're right, runs east-west. Had to be the 95 because I was going from. Anyway, long story short, this place had a farm like right across the street from the Comfort Inn. David freaked out in the morning because there was this like cell tower behind the place, but it was pretty cool. Robbinsville, Windsor, I don't remember exactly. I'd have to look up where it was, but I know it was in New Jersey somewhere. And I was kind of shocked because I know New Jersey is just all, usually New Jersey is just all, I wonder if it was in Cherry Hill. That sounds right. I don't remember. It was late at night. New Jersey is a lot of things. It was like, it was really interesting because it was like New Jersey can be like, there can be little places where it's like farmlands, and then there's places where it's like super industrial, like, oh my goodness, I haven't seen this much industry, except maybe the only place that kind of compares to New Jersey industry is Chicago, right on the water, maybe. Maybe it was Camden. I don't know. Now I'm confused. I remember David was like, we had stopped previously at a, it was interesting. We had stopped at a, like a, what are they? They're not rest areas. They're like little places on the turnpikes in New Jersey. And it was just like, there was so much diversity in there. It was like, we went and went to a Starbucks there, and it was interesting because the Starbucks usually are inside the what do they call them? The like little stops, but this one was near it. Oh, I wasn't in the ghetto then. No. It was actually really weird because I was like, wow. This is it was a good place. It was a good it was a good stopping point. Yeah, the rest stops. Usually in the other places like Ohio, rest stop, like this coffee shops, the rest stops are all like inside, and this one was odd because the Starbucks was actually outside of the major rest stop. Anyway, it was strange. It was an odd night, but yeah, it was just trying to get through New Jersey. I was on my way to go down to, that was last summer. I was on my way to DC because I had an event to get to in DC, so. Thanks, don't worry, be happy. Well, Jersey, is pretty cool because they're so great for business. They're just have so many people that even do business in other areas. They incorporate in New Jersey because they have such friendly business laws that's what I've heard. Yeah, but the whole East Coast is way more populated than where we live out here. But then comes the summer, and then is the traffic in the summer. But that's one of the reasons I took a day off today, kind of. Yeah, I mean, I had a meet early this morning, but I took most of the day off. And just try to relax. Because during the normal spring break, I was busy like ramping up to get ready for online teaching. So since I was working for that, they said you can, actually they told all the teachers, since we're doing distance learning and it all came out of nowhere, we could use our 5 spring break days. We could spread them out. So I used one of my spring break days today, which was good. Yeah, European settlement began on the East Coast, which was good. And Vikings say, I hear there's artifacts, Viking artifacts on the East Coast as well. It's pretty interesting out here. I was telling you guys that the natives that were here were some of the one of the few sedentary tribes in North America, because we have pretty much everything we need. Amerigo Vespucci, maybe? Is that who you're referring to, John Uncaged? How are you, John Uncaged? Were you ever in a cage? Or did you just feel like you were in a cage and you're like, or do you always feel like you're in a cage? And by typing John Uncaged, you feel like you can be yourself. You were caged? I'm sorry to hear that you were caged. I'm glad that you're uncaged now. Was there something that allowed you to become uncaged? It comes from a Mortal Kombat character. I remember that game. I never really played it, but I was around people that played it. I love that song, Miss Anthropy. I do remember Mortal Kombat has a great like background music. Mortal Kombat. Yeah, they did. And I like that song. Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. Actually, but I'm not a rat in a cage because I don't have any rage. I am very, very happy for the and I say happy like a question mark. Well, for the most part, I really am happy. You start out as Johnny Cage and you broke out into more characters eventually. Good. All right, I was pulling up the map of New Jersey to see where I stayed, but I can't remember. I think it might have been Cherry Hill, but I can't remember. Wow. So God. So Zuckerberg said Facebook allowed President Trump's post. man, I can't even believe this guy is president. And then I can't believe that so many people like him. I totally just want to wake up when he's done. But then, of course, I realized something worse could happen, but... Okay, don't worry, be happy. I don't know if I'm ever going back to the East Coast. I did not have a pleasant time. I take that back. I mean, I enjoyed my time in Washington, D.C., but it was so hot. I was there during a heat wave, and it was just crazy. How much of America is not educated? I wonder. And someone will say, what is lost can never be saved. It is very crowded on the East Coast. Yeah, I don't think I mean, the thing is, I had wanted to go back to DC. I'd gone to DC once with David, and I just saw, which was pretty cool because I saw things that I didn't see this time. And then I went to DC this past summer, and I spent, I think, almost a full week there. I think it was a full week. And I saw everything else that I wanted to see. And now I'm like, I had the fill that I wanted. So now I no longer want to go to DC. And it was pretty interesting trip. I reconnected with family, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, let's look up the stats about how much of U.S. population is educated. Like, what would count as educated? Has a bachelor's degree? Has a, yeah, or higher. Oh, here we go. Map of state percentage of population 25 years old with advanced degree in 2019. Okay, so 3 more rows. Educational attainment in the United States. I'll show it to you guys. Well, this is according to Wikipedia, so take that as you take it. I say with a grain of salt, but... And Led Zeppelin rules, I will totally stay where I'm at. I love it here. I'm like, I do not want to leave. Yes, okay, there's jets. There's also beaches and trees and... All right. Educational attainment in the United States out of 2018. High school diploma, age 25 and over, 90%, some college 61%, associate and or bachelor's 45%, 34% have a bachelor's degree, only 13% have a master's or doctorate or professional degree. Of those in the age just 25 to 39% have a master's, doctorate. A doctorate or professional degree, only 3.47%. A doctorate, 2%. Maybe I should go back and get a doctorate just to be part of like the 2% that have a doctorate. Woohoo! Oh yes, I can increase the font. And I can, there we go. That's better. You're right, Bright. Ooh, the real question is not if people are educated, but is not if they're educated, but why they're not educated. Less than 1% of the population has a genius IQ. Ron says high school diploma and a trade college degrees are overrated. Yeah, usually when you get a doctorate, the only thing you can do is teach. Oh, wait, I already do that. Just not at the college level, but I could get a college job if I wanted to. Less than 60%. This is a 2008, 2012 by county. Actually, it's not Kentucky they live in. It's where is this? Colorado? No. Yes. Okay. I agree with you, John. And did you know IQ is really, there's two things. One, the Mensa thing. But really, IQ was created not as a test to say like, oh, they are so smart. It was created, and it's still used today, as a test to determine if a student is struggling, has a gap between their cognitive ability and what they're showing, their cognitive performance, and to see if they need additional support, like individualized educational plan. Yeah, well, don't worry, be happy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They had to figure out like, where does the average group of people fall, and then using statistics and say, well, this group falls below that average, and so therefore this group needs support. But if you're going to say there's a certain group that's low and needs support, there's also a group that's high and doesn't need your support. Probably doesn't need a teacher. Like, they can learn on their own. I was one of those that could learn on my own, but yeah, exactly. And it just means you have the ability to learn, not that you will learn. Just study. And there was this interesting, I've been listening to this book, and I've also been reading another book about one is like helping children succeed, and another one's like called empathy. One's called Unselfie, and it's about giving kids an empathy advantage. But the other one, I think it's helping children succeed. But that was pretty interesting. So there was a study done on IQ, and they gave kids an IQ test, and then they gave kids a similar test or something. I don't know if it was the same test or a similar test, but they said, oh, this time for every answer you get right, we'll give you an M&M. And then so suddenly the kids that had a low IQ previously that were given M&Ms for their right answer, they went from having an IQ of like 79 with no M&M rewards to like 90 something, which is almost average with rewards. And so it's like, so they have the ability to do better, but they're not motivated to do better. I like what you're saying, Ron. Having a degree does not confer intelligence. You know some highly educated people that you don't feel are morons, you say. One is a professional student. They have 3 doctorates. Man. I agree with you, John. Learning should not be unfun. It should be fun. The real conclusion to draw from that is about, I would say, is about motivation. Really. And oh, one of the other things that this book is pretty interesting. I like books that like state studies and state statistics. And they cited some of Angela Duckworth's work. But one of the it's pretty interesting. Like, yeah, that there's different personality ratings, and one is like people who delay gratification actually end up being very successful people in life. And I forget, there's a certain word they call it. And it's not just delaying gratification, but and they're like, are there any bad things from delaying gratification? No, pretty much no. They're all good. I agree. Like, the thing about ignorance is people can be educated to no longer be ignorant. I like that I can just do a random article. I used to like this StumbleUpon website, but I don't think they have it anymore. StumbleUpon moved to Mix. I have to get an extension. I was part of Mix.com for a while. Yes, perseverance. You know, a lot of dumb people that consider themselves to be educated. Here's how you spell perseverance. That's one of the things with me and like government is I feel like some people have this big view of government figures like they must be so much more intelligent than I am. And there's even people I've met that say, oh, there's people that are a lot more intelligent that are solving these problems. I'm like, they're no more intelligent than you and I. Or at least I. So, I mean, I really feel, I understand there's a lot of problems in the world, but I feel like I could do just as well as our elected officials. And the thing that maybe the elected officials have that I don't seem to possess is the is this popularity. That might be one of the one areas that I'm not very good at, meeting people or doing something like that. Ron says if you delay gratification for too long, then you're too old to enjoy it. Yeah, I agree with Ron. Most people in government may not be as smart as the general public. They're just more ambitious, and sometimes they're corrupt. Maybe they are. Maybe there is sociopathy. Maybe. Some do have great stamina. That's true. Some just totally love themselves. That's another thing. I like myself okay most of the time. But some people just love themselves and they love to hear themselves talk. I like silence. Or they love to see their own tweets or whatever it is. You love yourself, but you know when you get to that point with other people where they're like, please stop talking. Some people don't know that. All right, so what is the best thing that has happened with you this week? Let me think. I ask you and I'm thinking, what is the best thing that's happened to me this week? Or Oh, well, I would say that Washington State moving into, at least Island County, was officially approved for phase 2 of reopening. That was very nice. That is interesting. I don't know if I want to watch that Epstein thing. No, actually, I know I don't want to watch it. I'm just so tired of hearing that name, Epstein. I don't even want to hear it. Sure, John, was that the best thing that happened to you this week? That's good. One of the books I'm reading is about teaching kids empathy, and they're talking about, like, if a kid does something wrong, to point out that how
Harassing that owl, I'll tell you.
the poor owl is still out there.
They're just harassing it. It's like they're bothering it.
Do you think the owl is looking like it might die?
That's the feeling I've got. The owl is suffering, and they know it, and they're after him. It's just I say go. In the evening, he'll be able to evade them.
Oh, good.
Because they don't fly at night. They usually
Oh,
don't.
good. Oh, good.
I have this like bad feeling about the owl. I feel like, a poor owl is like suffering. I don't know. It doesn't seem like the owl was going after the rabbits. It's more like the owl is just trying to evade the crows. It's weird.
You know what, Misanthropy, it reminds me when you say you're watching it to analyze their propaganda. When I first started teaching, my principal said that the administration was reading, they did like a book study. And so the administration was reading James, isn't it Jim Gordon? Anyway, it was called Good to Great is the name of the book. And so I decided to read the book just to figure out, like, what's the mindset of the administration. It was a good book, but one of the things in that book, Jim Collins, totally got that wrong. Jim Collins was the author of Good to Great, and he's actually he writes books I do like, which are like they cite a lot of statistics and things like that. And anyway, but one of the things that he says is get rid of people who are like dragging you down, like don't hold on to dead weight, which was pretty interesting. Like, and then I could see them like getting rid of certain people, and then they're like looking for negative things about even me, and so I worked really hard to overcome any negative perceptions. Not that I had any to begin with, but just to ensure that I didn't that I was making a good impression or whatever. I think that's one of the reasons I've worked so hard in the last 6 years. That's what you do that with Reddit. When Chad is dead one day, I should have me check the front page so I can see what's going through the mind of the average person. Is it, you always post old Reddit. Is it just Reddit is the new one? Keep yourself safe and informed. What movie death scene is seared into your memory? Why focus on that negative stuff? The arresting officer in George Floyd's case has been taken into custody. A lot of it's placed there by people with power. Oh, but the regular people are the ones commenting and agreeing. There's some random broadcaster on there. Oh, he's doing a music mix. Reddit has a very leftist hive mind. It's creepy. Ew. It does seem like a lot of memes. It seems like, I don't know. What is this phase thing? You guys are having hoot nannies where Ron is? We have 4 phases in Washington State. And DJ over at iVlog says the city is going crazy. Aw, poor cat, Ron. Oh. Okay, I can see how it's one of those social media, like, you want to just comb through it. Do you think we should be broadcasting over there? On Reddit?
She over here? Oh, she's sleeping. I'm just gonna leave her food.
Yeah, she's sleeping. Yeah. Just like other social media sites, you like to play a game where you can count how many posts it takes to find one that's actually worthwhile. I should work on planking. There's a post on Reddit about doing planks, so that will help your back problems. We should teach David how to do planks because he's been complaining about lower back problems. Maybe that's a good one. I could leave that up for David. Planking for 1 to 2 minutes 3 times every day can majorly help with back problems, and also increase your overall posture. Are you sure it's not the planking where they lay on random objects in public? I don't know. I thought it's just like planking, like you put your arms like this solid on the ground, and then you like hold the like you're doing a push-up, but you hold that solid position for 1 to 2 minutes, like that. Holy moly.
Yeah, these are magnificent birds, and they're absolutely gorgeous. I was shocked when I saw them today. I saw this owl evading a bunch of crows outside my yard, and I was like, what are these crows going after? I thought it was a rabbit, and it was an owl. And they're still bothering the owl. I guess that's what they do. They gang up on the owl. I don't know. I thought Trump signs executive order removing online censorship. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it doesn't remove anything. In fact, it makes it more difficult for him to continually spout off lies. It puts more liability on the social networks, which means they have to constantly say, no, that's not true. He's going to get more fact checks than ever now. We're going to work in reverse. It doesn't have any teeth to it, that executive order, but we'll play that video. Thank you, Scissor Fight.
This is a crazy video of a police officer on Reddit.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, he just goes ballistic.
This guy's just standing there. I didn't show it to them. He's just standing there, and this guy, see? What's that? Like, he just kicks him in the back. He's not even, like,
you got to wonder if some of these
resisting
videotapes are being set up just to get people pissed off.
Yeah.
I'm seeing so many now police brutality videos, and it seems like they're trying to make us all think there's all this terrible police violence. Well, there's always been a lot of police violence. We've seen this 1,200 people die by cop every year in America. Half of them are unarmed. They don't even have a pocket knife. And more than a quarter of them are disabled. So this is an ongoing issue. Why now all these videos, you know? There's a thing called metacognition, and when you watch this stuff, you almost have to get into a metacognition realm where you say, wait a second, I'm being played. They're trying to, create racial hostility here. The media is.
Metacognition's thinking about your own thinking.
Right, and you can't fall into the trap of fear, and with metacognition, you can get out of the trap of fear. There's another big important issue, and that's government secrecy and how they continually act like they can do no wrong. There's no investigation that can actually penetrate their secret societies. The government remains completely hands above everybody else, but we're all like begging for our own privacy. We just want a little bit of privacy, but oh no, we don't get privacy, but they have total secrecy. And that's been a big problem in our country.
I think you say government and police abuse has been going on for years, and the lockdown has finally woke most people up. I'm going to go back to bed.
Yeah, if it's time to go back to bed if you woke up too quick. In fact, that chicken is waiting for you to make you sleepy, and have a nice meal, Sarah. Enjoy. If you don't want to come back, that's okay too.
No, I will come back. I'm just saying that I don't like being woken up. I mean, like, by woke. I don't like being woke.
Oh, right. Yeah. Who wants that? Just have metacognition and you can go back to bed now that you've been woke.
Or my head back in the sand is what I want to do.
Well, no, you could just realize, you know what I call it, transcending. When you transcend above this, you can get beyond it. I'll play that later when I'm not being recorded, because otherwise, if I play that right now, it'll be a bit much for our show. Well, I appreciate your Reddit pursuits, Misanthropy. I mean, I even created the Reddit room over at our Flipboard link. And if you want to go check out our site, Cool Rock, we have the Flipboard link right for you. Yes. Sarah just checked out. She's having dinner now. You missed her, Mariana. No, Sarah, come back. We don't want to listen to Dave. Well, I think people want to, be sidetracked right now because it's very disturbing, the news is. Everywhere you turn, and what better way to, avoid the news than to, play some music. Or if you go to Cool Rock, you can actually engage in chat by allowing your Adobe Flash, hitting the allow button, Xing out of any ads, and there's only one ad that never pops up, and then you're good to go. This is a free site we host at, Scraplet it's called. And Scraplet's designed by a guy named Steve Rapidi, who does a great job, brilliant coder. And you can take anything on this page and do whatever you want with it. So if you like this page over here, and you want to actually activate one of these other chat rooms, like right over here is DLive, you can click that and go to the DLive room, or Vaughn Live, go to Vaughn Live. But down here is Flipboard links, and that takes you right there. And it gives you a really great list of links that we pulled from all the different link sharing things that have gone on in our show. And there's some really good in-depth links on Gates. It gets really deep into his pedophile allegations. You also have the Epstein case, where, of course, there's a couple stories where they've seen Epstein alive. 5G dangers. It opens up into a woman believing her brain is under control by 5G radiation. I mean, you can take it or leave it. Mark can't steal my viewers. I get a lot more viewers when he tries to take them. It doesn't matter. But all these links, if you expand the library, will give you the most cutting edge information. And I got to tell you, the Reddit room is the place to go for really interesting stuff. Here's the guy that was spotted. He's a police officer that was spotted breaking windows at the AutoZone 2 days ago, starting the riot. We know that the people are trying to start the riots. Isn't that a riot? We know that the New World Order is trying to stimulate this crisis so that the COVID-19 thing didn't take, so now they're trying to break our country down, the fabric of our society. Don't let them. We have no hostility toward African Americans or Hispanic people or white people or Asian people. It's all being confabulated. They're trying to create that friction. Did I watch the video of the police leaving the station? No, not yet. Not yet. Right now I'm pulling other links in. It'll take me a while to assimilate all that.
All right, you guys remember the agent provocateur with the umbrella?
Let's talk about that right now, in fact. We'll go to that story from 153.
Umbrella, right? And you remember the guy with the pizza with the pink shirt that called him out? There are so many layers of deception that are currently happening. And turns out that Mr. Pink Shirt here is in on the act, as it appears. Thanks to Bosco again here for sending me a link here off of Twitter. But check this out. So this guy, James Nerdin here, video, they salted the sniffer, double act, black pizza box guy, and umbrella agent provocateur, MDP cop Jacob Peterson. They were in it together to get the riot party started. Now I'm going to look into the whole, I have been looking into the whole riot, Unicorn Riot, whole thing. But check this out. So you remember, and I'll just show you that again here. I was showing this video, and I kind of praised this dude for calling out the cop, the guy with the pizza box here. cop, right? Now check this out. There they are. You wear a pink shirt, you're gonna stand out in a crowd. And there's Mr. Umbrella, and there's Mr. Pink Shirt with the pizza box.
Okay, so they're working together, and they put it on tape, and they even outed the cop. So what the hell is going on? Well, it seems that there is a concerted effort to tell us the truth in plain sight. Yeah, this is the style of this particular New World Order takeover.
Black people, white people is hypocrites, they're barbaric.
Now, this is another propaganda tool. They're going to bring up some black person complaining about white people. This is this is part of the play. They want people to know that the riots were incited by the police. They're literally accepting all theories and then promoting them. This is like a blast of conspiracy theory coming from the elites, and then once we get hold of it, they call us conspiracy theory whack jobs. You see this deal? It's like baiting us. That's the only explanation I can come up with. If you got another one, I'm open to it. Here's another example of baiting black and versus white friction, because COVID-19 didn't work. They didn't get the desired result. They wanted more people locked in hospitals getting sicker and sicker. Instead, nobody went to the hospital. And the Mayor Fry of Minneapolis, he looks like he's fried mentally. He looks like an academic Marxist that grew up thinking he could become a governor or something. And they played that. And recently, they got him to, a year ago, they got him to be the first mayor of any city to fully accept the 5G system. And let's not forget, the Minneapolis is 5G ready. They've already been completely retrofitted with 5G across the state of Minnesota, but specifically Minneapolis. And the mayor has faced a lot of opposition from local townships around Minneapolis of putting the 5G in. So the New World Order wants to make this mayor and this area kind of like their leading standard of overtaking any dissension against them. That's their big plan.
Okay?
You said kill all white people, you really feel
No,
that
I
way?
didn't. I said white lives don't matter. See, that's
okay,
your white, what they call it?
Well, do you really
yellow
believe,
journalism,
do you
but
really,
this is live.
Let me ask you this. Do you really believe that white lives don't matter?
Of course, I'm not a liar like you. You just lied on me on live TV. Is this really live?
This is live TV.
Live TV, Black Power. Black Power, white lives do not matter.
All right, this is another agent provocateur trying to stimulate hatred against black people. You see what's happening? And all the CNN can do is just waft the flame. They had this black journalist out there getting fake arrested by some cops that were standing around. Looked like they were practically, actors in a theater play. The mayor is a sissy. Okay, here it is. Misanthropy found the police abandoning the precinct last night. They took 2 precincts that I understand. The precinct number 5 did not fall. It stood strong. You're listening to Boston? Oh, I love that. I knew a roadie that worked with Boston, did all their tours. Yeah, he was a pretty cool guy. I'll never forget him. Yep. Boston was a great group. Really kind of an organic group out of the 60s. I felt that Boston is one of the purest groups of the rock and roll era. A lot of those groups that rock and roll era were actually part of a propaganda technique that the government was engaged in. Many people don't realize that groups like the Beatles, the number 1 group you can think of, Rolling Stones, a lot of that was part of a propaganda tool used by an organization that was out of the Nazi Germany era, a group formulated right out of Nazi Germany's collapse, the Tavistock Institute. And a lot of groups were part of that propaganda tool. Boston wasn't. Boston was just a bunch of young rockers who really organically created a rock and roll band. So I kind of like that. I'm glad you're doing that, Joe. Okay, police abandoning the 3rd Precinct station in Minneapolis. Watch this.
They're gone.
Okay, somebody just said that they want me to think that Boston wasn't part of the Tavistock program. Exactly. Well, I knew a roadie for the I knew the roadie for the Boston group, so I find it hard to believe that they were part of a bigger scheme. Yeah. Well, you know, the Grateful Dead, all their parents were Nazis. Isn't that interesting? All the Byrds were all, their parents were all military top brass. You know, Jim Morrison, his father was the commander of the ship that was attacked during the North Vietnam conflict. Yeah, he became an admiral later, Admiral Morrison. But all of the rock and rollers, with the exception of maybe Janis Joplin, but all the rock and roller guys were mostly families were all military. And not a lot of people were ever arrested for pot possession back then. They wanted that whole thing to spin out. They wanted to take the descendants of the military, young men and women, the baby boomers, and they wanted to divest them or divert them. There were a lot of baby boomers that were ready for a revolution, and they needed a way to subdue them, and drugs was the way. So when the 60s rolled along, and I lived through the 60s, as you probably know, people thought that this was a big revolution, but no, it turned into a drug problem. And that was by intention. You saw in 4 or 5 years what happened with Paul McCartney and John Lennon, the original Paul McCartney, John Lennon, and then the fake Paul McCartney, Fall McCartney. They turned into drug addicts within a short period of time, became a kind of a big thing. Paul McCartney later in the 70s was arrested for pot, or the Fall McCartney was. Anyway, this whole thing was designed to make people turn into dropouts. Turn on, tune out, drop out, that kind of thing. They didn't want anybody mobilizing. They didn't want a real movement to start in the 60s. The free speech movement was intercepted by FBI agents, like I said, the FSM movement in San Francisco. I knew people that went to the Berkeley gatherings. They said the FBI agents were everywhere, trying to cause problems, hitting people and pushing people and starting. So this kind of planned insurrection is what has happened now in Minneapolis. We know that Antifa was called in yesterday, supported by George Soros. The Attorney General for for the Minneapolis area is an Antifa guy. He supports Antifa. The mayor, Fry, looks like he's a academic Marxist. So they found a government that they could seed this revolution. The next one that's going to pop up will be D.C. and then Baltimore. Yep. They breached the Treasury Department and sprayed paint the area. They're basically the provocateurs come in, and these people are paid agents of the government, and they try to create violence when we have an online revolution going on right here. But in the streets of the world, they're trying to turn it into a violent situation so they can call those people out as anarchists. And then the ultimate goal, like we were saying, was Misanthropy and I were talking about this. They need to take our country to the next level. They've already transferred power from Trump over to FEMA. That happened about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Trump pretty much resigned as president. Even though people don't realize it, he's handing over power to FEMA. But in order for that power to be complete, the United States of America has to declare martial law. And the only way they can do that is if they push a violent insurrection in 3 major cities and then claim their riots are out of control. So that's what's coming in the country. This is part of a plan. It's called the New World Order takeover of our country, and we predicted it would happen for years. Not many of the people in the media even talk about what's going on. We're one of the few. So at least you guys are privy to the inside knowledge of what's been happening over the years, and forewarned is forearmed. At least we know what's going on. Okay, the agent provocateur was caught on film.
Sergeant Redding.
Hi, Sergeant. I'm just calling about the events from yesterday. I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but there's a lot of speculation of an agent provocateur starting the riots, who actually is with the St. Paul Police, named Jacob Pedersen.
Asian?
An Asian?
An Asian?
No.
An Asian officer?
No. His name is Jacob Pedersen of the St. Paul Police. I would call him white. I don't know what he is.
Oh, good.
But yeah, there's a picture of him next to
Facebook.
Well, there's like this weird guy who was dressed in all black with a big face mask on and with a black umbrella, just smashing that AutoZone or whatever it was called.
Sure.
And then people, this guy's ex-wife came out and said, "I know that man," and then everyone's like saying it looks like him. And I think St. Paul Police Department came out and said they're aware of the post, and it's not him. So I guess we're just kind of wondering, like, how do you know it's not him? I mean, it seems like
because they can account for his whereabouts.
They can. Okay, is that going to be released to the public?
That you would have to check with the public information officer.
Is there do you know? I guess I'll just look that information up. Could you transfer me, or is that a big hassle? I'll just look it up. No, don't worry about it. I appreciate your time.
Oh, hold on here. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it.
You have reached the St. Paul Police Department Chief's Office. If you are calling during business hours...
So the guy just hung up on him. Okay, I'll play more of that tonight. Good, I'm glad he got him on the phone. The cop just hung up on him because he knew he was fully caught red-handed. That's a really good video. Thank you, Scissor Fight. Then we got another one here from CNN headquarters where multiple cities over Georgia... This is all part of the big theater that's going on for all of us to watch. They're trying to make this bigger than it could possibly be. So you're going to see CNN really push this whole message the next couple of days about how violent everything is, blah, blah, blah. This is the New World Order play, and they're using their muscle. The media, the Fox and CNN will both be pushing this.
Anderson, it's ugly out here. The situation has deteriorated fast. We understand that these demonstrators showed up at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. And it's just within the last 30 minutes that things have really taken a turn for the worse. You see behind me our cameraman, William Walker, if you could pan in there. They've just set a car on fire. Prior to that, they were breaking windows of an Atlanta police cruiser. You have armored vehicles, SWAT team from the Atlanta Police Department, as well as plainclothes officers. These demonstrators came here ready to confront the police. They began throwing objects at CNN Center, breaking windows. If you could pan over to see what they've left behind as that police presence pushed those demonstrators past CNN Center. This is what they left behind. Graffiti, some profanity. I'm sorry about that, showing that live, but it's just this is what's really happened out here, Anderson. They've graffitied those CNN red letters, broken windows out. This is where they were, and as you can see happening live in front of us, if you want to pan back down there, William, another demonstrator is being taken into custody. Anderson, we've witnessed at least 6 people. This is the 7th person that we've seen with our own eyes taken into custody. These
Okay, so part of this is the theater of this huge event going on all over the country now. You see how it went from one little thing to massive problems outside of the CNN. Immediately they engaged CNN, so they're trying to ramp this up as fast as they can to create as much political unrest as they can in the country and ultimately declare martial law. Now they'll have 6 months to 6 months to resolve this. The president doesn't have to answer to anybody for 6 months. That's right. A president can declare martial law and then can kick back and hand the whole thing over to FEMA. For 6 months, he doesn't even have to justify it to Congress. Now, once he declares martial law, which we predicted he would, and he would create a fake event that would do it, and obviously the George Floyd thing is the fake event, they wanted to use it. And I'm not sure if George Floyd is even dead at this point. We're still a little bit suspicious about that. But they're doing a major false flag now. They've taken it from COVID-19, which was a false flag in and of itself, and the PSYOPs has now advanced to a political unrest and a need for martial law. Now you're wondering what the hell's going on in a country that you grew up in, thinking, why would this be happening? And most of us have no racial problems whatsoever. It's these hot points they're trying to blow out, magnify, and then turn into a major trigger for martial law. So clearly, the only pathway is voting a third-party candidate, myself, into office, or somebody like me who can appease the situation by finding common ground based on our Bill of Rights. Any other person in this position wouldn't understand the constitutional framework that guarantees your freedom, your pursuit of happiness, not some martial law scenario where the New World Order wants to come in, take away our currency, promote digital currency, COVID ID everybody, stick chips in everyone, and treat us like farm animals. So you're the ones who are Americans who are standing up for what you believe in to be the truth. Your individual freedom, your independence from government takeover. We will stop this if this third party is successful in 2020. If not, they will mow us down, and we might as well just start packing, ready to go to the FEMA camps and prepare for execution. Okay? Not trying to scare you, but this is clearly where they're headed. If you play this thing out long term, it doesn't look good for any one of us. So yeah, we're now pretty much involved in this false flag as Americans. We didn't want this. We didn't ask for this. We didn't cause this. The people that are in power want to get rid of us. And they're going to try to do it by breaking down the very fabric of our society. And the very people that we believe are good will turn into bad people, like Donald Trump, who's already sold you down the river, and you don't even know it. Some of you still believe Joe Biden. No. Joe Biden's a puppet for AIPAC and a total Zionist, just like Donald Trump is. The people behind this New World Order takeover are the same people that brought us the independence for Israel, the whole idea of the Balfour Declaration, the Rothschilds, Jacob Rothschild, and the families that control the world monetary supply. They've decided that they don't want humans around. They can replace us with robots. It's that simple. Automation is going to kick in. We don't need humans. Get rid of the people. You're just useless eaters in their mind. They even call you that, useless eaters. So either you mobilize politically and stop these assholes from trying to take over this great country, or you just sit back and watch your rights just disappear. Your choice. Now, a lot of people just simply say, start contacting your public official. Contact your legislature. Tell them you don't support this action. That's one starting point right there. Do that. Believe me, the tide will turn. But don't do that. Oh, this is more than a transition. This is on our way down the drain. We're circling the drain right now. They're just ready to flush. You hear that flushing sound? That's us floating around the toilet. David, every other source is redacted. This is the full video of this attack. Excellent. I'll take it, Sammy. Thank you. We saw this man getting carted carted out with a gurney but not put in a body bag. So apparently he died when he got there. We don't know. Well, this is a separate situation. This is allegedly a wheelchair-bound woman getting attacked by looters while blocking door at the Minneapolis Target. Let's take a look. She's just trying to protect the Target. Wow.
Move, bitch! She's stabbing people! Hey! She got a knife! She got a knife! Get out of here! She got a knife!
This is unreal.
She's stabbing people! Jennifer!
Well, I got to say, that is one brave woman, I'll tell you that. Wow. That was amazing. I mean, she really was standing by the Target, man. That was like, wow. That woman's got more balls than most men. Well, the fire extinguisher was just a terrible thing. Yeah, that can freeze her flesh. She get frostbite on that. Wait, isn't this a special night? Yeah, all kinds of weird stuff, and I got more stuff stacked up to go. What a nightmare. Government and police abuse has been going on for years. I think the lockdown has finally woke most people up. Yeah, I agree. We saw police abandoning the 3rd Precinct police station. That was definitely an abandonment. We know that the Precinct 5 stood its ground. As this continues to be fomented into a bigger problem, Trump is running off on a side tangent, signing executive orders removing online censorship, and it's almost pathetic how he's turned this minor little detail of fact check talking about the ballots. He claimed that they were being cheated on, the mail-in ballots. Fact check said, no, that's not the case. Big deal. I've been censored for 9 years on Twitter. I've been shadow banned. Donald Trump gets one little slap on the wrist and he immediately issues an order. And it's a toothless order, too. It won't stop anything.
We're here today to defend free speech from one of the gravest dangers it has faced in American history, frankly. And you know what's going on as well as anybody. It's not good. A small handful of powerful social media monopolies controls a vast portion of all public and private communications in the United States. And
he doesn't even sign the law? Really? Were you there, Rodney? Maybe the wheelchair lady was hanging out with Alex Jones, and maybe they were like thinking of having dinner or something. When Alex Jones said he wants to eat people, I mean, that was like very, very violent and homicidal in nature. Yeah, so he doesn't even sign it, really. Okay.
We know what they are. We don't have to name them. We're going to give you a complete listing. We're going to give you a signed copy of what I'm going to be signing in a couple of minutes, and you'll see exactly what we're doing. They've had unchecked power to censor, restrict, edit, shape, hide, alter virtually any form of communication between private citizens or large public audiences. There's no precedent in American history for so small a number of corporations to control so large a sphere of human interaction, and that includes individual people controlling vast amounts of territory, and we can't allow that to happen.
What do you mean you can't allow that to happen? It's already happened. 5 people control the entire medias around the world. It's just not going to happen. We're going to stop this with my executive order. All Donald had to do was bring back the Fairness Doctrine, which was designed to stop this type of censorship. That's all he had to do. But not one person in his group had the wherewithal to do that. And the Fairness Doctrine could be implemented right away because it's already written. Our government has fallen. Atlanta is on fire, I know. They broke into the College Football Hall of Fame. Right now, George Soros is probably writing checks left and right just to get people to have riots all across the country. I wouldn't doubt it. Every Antifa and former Occupy person right now is getting immediate speed dials, text messages saying, go here and we'll make lots of money. So this is Operation Create the Problem. The New World Order is pushing this agenda to try to create martial law in our country. And the more you react to it, the more likely it'll happen. So the idea is just to realize this is largely theater. Start with that. Meanwhile, prepare for the worst, because believe me, these people in our government are living in such secrecy that they think they can get away with anything. So don't kid yourself. They'll try everything to pitch just to control the world and take away our freedoms.
Especially when they go about doing what they're doing, because they're doing things incorrectly. They have points of view, and if we go by that, it's actually amazing that there was a success in 2016, but we can't let this continue to happen. It's very, very unfair. And you look at the statistics and you look at what is going on, and I think everybody would very much agree with that, including Democrats, by the way. I saw quite a few Democrats are saying this is about time something is done. So let's see if they keep that decision after they hear that we agree with them.
Ironically, as soon as Donald Trump did that, he tried to incite a riot over there by claiming, you loot, we shoot, which is absurd. Donald Trump said he was going to shoot looters flat out, which is unusual. Not one president in history has ever said those things. So he's already trying to incite riots, which he, of course, is playing into the hand of the puppet master that tells him what to do. Ooh, what do I do now? Oh, I'm going to go ahead and incite riots. I'll say to all of my followers, protest out in the open and bring your guns. So that's what they're doing. Okay, the crowds are now gathering around the 5th precinct in Minneapolis, and they held their ground last night. But where has the National Guard been at this time? You'd think the National Guard would have positioned an armada around the 5th precinct. No, they're backing off because they want Minneapolis to fall. The people that are pushing this agenda want the city to be in fire, literally in flames. And they want D.C. to have problems too. They want Baltimore to have problems. Believe me, they want L.A. to have problems. They want martial law so bad they can taste it. The New World Order wants to fully take over this country. They only did it in spirit when they had Donald Trump sign away the presidency to FEMA about 3 weeks ago. So this has been an ongoing problem that's been just getting worse. They know they've got a guy who's infinitely greedy with Donald Trump. And all their players are in place. They've got their media moguls and their disinformation artists all stacked up. The Rockefeller grandkids with new names. Yeah, that's right. Edward Snowden is not Edward Snowden. He's an Edward Greenberg. They've got Jacob Greenberg. Cousin, I guess. I don't know. They could be brothers. We're not sure. But all 3 of these have now turned into full-scale jobs that take up the most important areas of our media. The disinformation artists with Edward Snowden. And you won't see this in the mainstream media, by the way. This is really good stuff. We got this picture from Voodoo. Thank you, Voodoo. I don't know if you're here right now, but this is just a deep state play that's going on right now. And they're doing the same thing they did 102 years ago. The Rockefellers under John D. Rockefeller decided that we're going to get back at America and the rest of the world. And 100 million people died as a result of it. Standard Oil 8 years prior or 7 years prior had a major monopoly bust, and our government shut down Standard Oil the way they were running a terrible, unbelievably corrupt scheme to take gas stations that were nearby and undercut them in sales and all this. They broke up Standard Oil, which was the Rockefeller nest egg. Rockefeller, John D., decided he wanted to create another plan, so he was very deceptive, and his family was very deceptive. they decided to put together this idea that they could become involved in the pharmaceutical industry and they could create vaccines, and they installed a dangerous influenza B virus in the vaccine pool that they were trying to deal with the Spanish flu at the time. 3 million people had died worldwide, so they said, well, we're going to go ahead and put this influenza B virus from a very deadly pool of viruses into the vaccine pool. 35 different vaccination strains went out. All of them started cross-infecting people with the Spanish flu, the influenza, or whatever. It could even be swine flu. We still don't really know for sure. But the fact is, that deadly B strain of influenza B was what killed people. And 100 million people died because John D. Rockefeller was so pissed off that he wanted to kill people. Well, they're back again. 102 years later, they're doing it again. They weren't prosecuted the last time they committed genocide. Now they're doing it again. So do you understand what happens when you don't prosecute the guilty party and they continue reoffending? It's a desire that they can't suppress, and they give birth to children that are willing to deceive you and claim they're different people than they are, and take on all that Rockefeller money and then claim they just got it naturally. We're dealing with the same monarchy rebranding themselves as the New World Order, and that's what we're fighting right now. Now, you're wondering who's trying to take over the country, right? You're looking at it. And now Zuckerberg acts like he's the best guy in the world, never would bother anybody, who's never censorship, and he's using an attack against Twitter, cozying up with Donald Trump. Zuckerberg's now pretending like he's, the best guy in the world, would never censor anybody, when last week he was taking Facebook accounts down of people that said that their parents didn't die of COVID. Mom didn't die of that. Grandpa didn't die of that. They pulled their Facebook accounts down. Can you imagine shutting down a Facebook account because somebody said that their mom and dad didn't die of COVID-19? That's what Zuckerberg did last week. And just 2 days ago, Edward Snowden announced that the second wave is coming. It's going to be worse than the first. You see what they're doing? They're trying to spread this mania, this fear that's gripped our country and turned us into a bunch of sniveling rabbits hiding in our hovel, waiting to get taken away. When we are a nation of free, good people that don't deserve this unbelievable, oppressive nightmare being laid on us with the COVID-19 crap. Not only do masks not work, they inhibit your breathing and actually hurt your body's immune system. Not only is there this coronavirus not airborne, the top expert in the field, Dolores Cahill in Ireland, a top immunologist and top microbiologist, said that this virus isn't even airborne, and masks won't work, and social distancing is a waste of time. And we're not even dealing with anything worse than a severe seasonal influenza. Yet they're saying, oh, the second wave is coming. And now the martial law attempts by creating and seeding violence in our cities. Do you see how they're operating? They're trying to work on this mega level to try to control our brains. And when we're thinking logical people that say, no, this is bullshit, they're screwing with your brain right now. This is a major psychological attack on the American people. And that's what's going on. Period. So tell your family it's all bullshit. That we're being led down a road of fear. And remember what FDR said? The only thing you have to fear is fear itself. We've got a brainless president who absolutely has no idea what he's doing and just wants to make money on hydroxychloroquine, which he's heavily invested in a French firm and poised to clean up on. He's got Jared Kushner, who's not in any way qualified to be where he is as an assistant advisor to the president, who's making a side deal with his brother Joshua to make billions of dollars on forced COVID testing. And these are the people that you voted for. So I suggest that athletic cup would be perfect for his face. Ideal mask for a dick. Exactly. Well, the whole thing, at this point, I looked at the family of George Floyd, and I'm not getting a lot of real genuine sadness from that family. I don't know, maybe it's because they're just cousins and they're not that close. Now, Dr. Fauci has made it very clear that he doesn't support hydroxychloroquine. He said so in this little interview here. So you know that Dr. Fauci's big on the vaccine industry. Well, he's invested in the vaccine industry, and Donald invested in the hydroxychloroquine industry. So the two of them are running a campaign against each other right now, but both of them are, still moving in the same direction. They want your money. They want to force it on you.
So many headlines to move through. If we could begin on hydroxychloroquine as a treatment for COVID. France today has banned its use. Doctors there saying that the data does not provide evidence to support it. Given that data and other studies, should the U.S. do the same and ban hydroxychloroquine as a treatment for COVID?
Jim, I'm not so sure it should be banned, but clearly the scientific data is really quite evident now about the lack of efficacy for it, and even the possibility that there could be, but there's, the likelihood that under certain circumstances might be rare, but you'd see it, adverse events, particularly with regard to cardiovascular and the arrhythmias that may be associated with it. I mean, there was suspicion of that for a while, but as data comes in, it becomes more clear. So I'm not so sure you'd want to ban it, but certainly the data are clear right now.
The data on the viruses itself, all the vaccines, the data that you took from Judy Mikovits, the data that you seized from her house with an illegal warrant, the data showed that your vaccines were far more dangerous than hydroxychloroquine, Mr. Fauci. The data shows that you've been purposely destroying data. The data shows that you've been circumventing the law by pushing dangerous vaccines on the population for the past 25 years. The data shows me that this recent order to put COVID positive patients in nursing homes where the most vulnerable people are there led to the high number of nursing home deaths recently. The data shows me that Dr. Fauci committed eldercide along with Dr. Birx, Dr. Redstone, and this guy, Rick Bright. They all are conspiring with the Corona Task Force to push bad policy that's led to people dying. That's what the data shows me. Maybe one case out of thousands of hydroxychloroquine end up with somebody getting an adverse reaction and mostly arrhythmia. But that's only because they don't take zinc with it. That case happened in Virginia recently. They purposely gave hydroxychloroquine to a bunch of people in Virginia as a study, and there were some guys with lesions on their lungs because they didn't couple the hydroxychloroquine with zinc. You can't deliver it unless it goes with zinc, because zinc protects the vital cellular tissue of your lungs and prevents these clots from forming. So all I'm saying is that Birx, Fauci, and all the rest look like they've committed murder. And we need to look at that as a real crime. Now, Donald Trump unwittingly maybe have just, well, they told me to shut it down, so I shut it down. Maybe he's just a bumbling idiot who wants to make a buck here. I'm going to assume that's the case because they seem to have Donald Trump's strings pretty tight. Well, you can make a lot of money on selling this stuff, the COVID testing kits, Donald. Think about that. That's the kind of thing Donald answers to. Did you say money? Oh, okay. So you got to understand, you got a president who's totally manipulatable by the dollar sign. And you've got an idea of a nebulous idea of a constitution that he doesn't even know what it means. And they don't even understand what liberty is. These are the people you voted for. Now, if you want to blame anybody, blame yourself for not actually thinking. And this guy. He says Trump's Minneapolis shooting post did not violate Facebook's policies. Start inciting riots is definitely something that we don't want our president to do. So Zuckerberg, why don't you grow up, grow some balls, admit that you're a Rockefeller, and just resign from duty at your company? Because your companies, we are going to monopoly bust you like we monopoly busted your grandfather, John D. Rockefeller. And you think I'm kidding? We're going after you scumbags who think you can take our country away from us. Unbelievable. What do you got? Breaking news. Okay. A fleet of UFOs spotted underwater off the coast of Greece. You know, I knew that's what's going on, a UFO fleet underwater. That's a great sidetrack. Let's go on that one for a while. It's time to stick another pin in the UFO map as an expert alien hunter claims to have discovered a fleet of alien vessels underwater off the coast of Greece. You know, we see them all the time here off the island. It's common to see UFOs going up out of the water and landing. I haven't. Sarah and I saw something very strange, but yeah, unidentified flying objects are everywhere. I wouldn't doubt they are using underwater transport to travel. Our government's been developing hypersonic ionic transport for years. They just don't talk about it. When Donald Trump said he was going to create a space force, I had to laugh. We've had a space force since Truman created it in 1946. I mean, Donald is that out of it, he didn't even know about that. We have our country has a fleet of UFOs called the TR-3B and the TR-3A. We don't talk about it because we normally don't have presidents as dumb as Donald Trump. All right, Canadian chopper crashed in full view, multiple witness, military confirmed. Okay. That's endless news, I'll tell you. Just keeps coming. Wow. Okay, I'm going to put the UFO story in the UFO collection. Yeah, I'm gonna put that in my section on Flipboard. Hang on. I'm going to put this in, I believe, conspiracy theory. Not nice? Thank you so much. Yeah, it'll be conspiracy theory. I don't really have a UFO section. There we go. Thank you. Okay, any other sidetracks tonight? I think we could kind of move on. As far as Zuckerberg standing up for anything, I'm going to remove that. That's not going to play till much later. All right, good. The agent provocateur, now we know that he was working with the young man in pink. And apparently they wanted this video to get out, Sarah. They wanted to see how they're able to start riots, and they want us to know that they're able to start riots. This was actually kind of a pre-prepped news story about them literally taking a ball-peen hammer and breaking out the AutoZone. We're talking about a police officer from St. Paul, Minnesota. So that's a serious story. You can get that at the Reddit room. They got other people trying to promote aggression toward white people. I don't know what to do about that. You know, we don't need any racial conflict because there is no racial conflict. It's pretty much, the problem is brutality, police brutality. That's the issue here. All right, thank you. Sarah's going to get back to her show. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay.
Let me bring this in.
All right, hello. How are you all? I'm going to move my video over so it takes up the whole screen. The UFOs you think are falling out of the skies, they almost own South America, the UFOs, or who owns South America? Surviving the common cold 20 instead of COVID-19. Common cold 20, yeah. And Ron says, reporters who go out tonight to document any interactions with police and military could face 90 days in prison and a $1,000 fine. The reporters could? But do they feel like the reporters are inciting violence? Why? I guess I could see how they could interpret that way. Oh, thanks. Well, even if that's the case, Misanthropy, it doesn't change what happened to him.
And even if he worked with the guy at, security, and he worked with the officer who ended up killing him, it doesn't change the fact that he died. I mean, unless you jump on the bandwagon that, oh, maybe he didn't die because the people weren't really sad. His cousins weren't really sad. There is an autopsy report, though. There's a report that's saying it doesn't support strangulation. Well, strangulation could be the entire neck versus just pushing down on one side of the neck. Maybe there's airway blockages does not necessarily mean strangulation. No guy knows better. I am not a huge conspiracy person. I really am not. If anything, I'm almost anti-conspiracy theory person. Did David explain the larger picture to me yet? No. Maybe he's tried. Maybe he's tried. I won't listen. Maybe. Nope, it's right here. Guy right here. It's not going anywhere. Anyway, I mean, I'm trying to just like live my wonderful, happy life. I'm trying to spread goodness and joy and inspiration. I guess certain things, I understand it is probably important to talk about inequity and racism and things like that, but do I think 9/11 was an inside job? No, not really. Still? Yeah, still. Not really. So now you know where I'm coming from. I have not used dental aligners. Maybe I should. I know my periodontist wants me to see a denture or a orthodontist, and then he thinks that these two teeth should come down and make them appear bigger because I've worn them out from grinding my teeth. And then he thinks I should do like braces for a couple of years, which would cost a lot of money. I'm sure you said that, Misanthropy. Do I remember it? No. How old are you, Norsky? You're about to order dental aligners. I know, Guy. So I just think I'll just be myself with that whatever smile I have. My teeth are fine. You're right. David doesn't mind it, so... You're 35. I'm 42. I wonder if I will get to an age where I'm like, or, you know, I'm at an age where I should just accept myself. It's like, whatever. You're going to find a clip for me, like a video clip or a hair clip. I don't think so. Duque der Cerdolandia, no. I think you can only win against violence with peace. Violence does not solve anything. You think you're in a race war, it's time to kill or be killed. No. It's time to spread nonviolence and love. Your insurance covers it. Yeah, my insurance will only cover a certain portion, and I would be paying a lot more than my insurance will cover. So CNN, the arrest of CNN's Omar Jimenez united members of the press. The Veterans VA is going to stop almost all use of an unproven drug on veterans. Thank you, don't worry, be happy. You remind me to don't worry and be happy. Which is not always easy with all of, like, just this stuff going on in the world. Just anger and lots of anger. Fear, anger, violence. I'm happy I have a wonderful home. I have a really nice place to live. No, and I don't intend to join the riots. Have you joined the riots yet? No. Have you? No, I'm not going to say have you. I'm going to say I encourage people to not join it. I think that's just begetting more violence. Well, I am looking at the news, I guess. I probably shouldn't, but I'm not it's just like this news is so, I could go look at some good news because just the news is just so depressing. Yeah. Agent Orange did mess up a lot of Americans very badly. So the medical examiner says no traumatic asphyxiation or strangulation in George Floyd case. You almost joined the military, but you have asthma and they didn't want you to join. Yeah. So this is from the Blaze. Effects of being restrained by police contributed to his death. The findings were included in the charges made Friday against Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer who arrested Floyd and kneeled on his neck before he died on Monday evening. The autopsy revealed no physical findings that supported a diagnosis of traumatic asphyxiation or strangulation, but that doesn't mean that the 4 police officers were not responsible for his death. Prolonged pressure on the critical arteries and veins in the neck could have caused heart trauma. The report notes that the officer's action in restraining Floyd likely contributed to his death. He had underlying health conditions including coronary artery disease, hypertensive heart disease, The police officer has been taken into custody, charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. The charging document said that he kept kneeling on his neck for 2 minutes 43 seconds after he became non-responsive. And there are likely other charges coming against the other officers involved. Haha, 568 says, I mean, that's not funny, but he says, they're going to say it's coronavirus. Yeah, let's talk about something less depressing. Like, let's see what they have for... So I heard Some Good News is moving to... has signed some deal. Oh, sorry. Has signed a deal with someone. He's in his 8 episodes. But I'll watch that. This is a guy from The Office, and he's done different interviews, or he's tried to lighten the mood with the coronavirus outbreak, and so I recommend you guys watch it. Here, I'll give this to you so you can watch it individually, because if I watch it now, they might try to monetize David's chat unless I pause my recording and we could watch one together. That might be good. But yeah, that usually helps me feel better. Our school is, because I don't know, they said something about graduation, but I know a lot of people are not doing graduation. Our school district for our seniors is doing 5 weeks of appreciating seniors. So they had like the local emergency responders like police department and fire department come out and did a like drive through the parking lots kind of thing with their decorated cars. That was not last Friday, but the Friday before or something like that. They called it Friday Night Lights. And then they had a week where they, different high school teachers and the administration went and went to each student's house or each senior's house. And then today or this week they did some kind of breakfast in the parking lot at the high school for the seniors. So that's good. Usually there's like a senior trip that's obviously canceled. I don't know what they have coming up this week, but yeah, so they said 5 weeks of stuff. They've got 2 more weeks of cool things they're doing for the seniors in our area. And a person at our school district puts out a positive newsletter to our community, and lately they've been putting in a music video, which is pretty cool. Music that one of the high schoolers performs. Can I make that egg dish? I don't like eggs, so I don't know what egg dish you're talking about. But, so I probably won't be making any egg dish. Let's see what else to share that's kind. David is such a nice person. He makes dinner for me all the time. I want to invoke Martin Luther King Jr., who really, the thing is, even when they bombed his house, he really advocated for nonviolence. I believe in being armed, and I do believe in self-defense, but I also believe in advocating for peace, saying our piece in a peaceful manner. We need police officers who care about our citizens, who are there to protect our citizens and serve our citizens. Not people who would intentionally harm our citizens. I don't believe the answer is violent protests, and I do tend to feel like there's a push for stirring up violence between people. We really need to see each other, the humanity in each other and our fellow man, and I also believe strongly in I do believe in our justice system as well. And I believe if you don't like the laws, then you should run for office. 1 minute BitChute video. Should I pause my record? So I'll be right back.
So we did a little 12-minute interview with Jerry. He's got a site, preparewithjerry.com, where he talked about the power of secrecy and how our government is so secret and how we are so afraid. And we want to reverse the tide, and we want to get back to being Americans again and just stand up for what you believe in, your individual freedom. So Power of Secrecy exposes, it's a great video. I play it for you now, but I don't want to. I just did. It exposes the fact that we are pretty much being brainwashed into thinking that the government is all powerful and no one can question their authority, when in fact your vote for a third party is that, questioning that authority. Your right to stand up for your individual freedoms, your right to go shopping, that's what you have to do. Your right to call your legislator and say you don't agree with Donald Trump, or you don't agree that our country is in turmoil with COVID, or you don't agree with the statistics regarding COVID-19, or you don't want your country to fall into martial law, whatever. But stand up for your rights and do contact your legislator, because they're about the only people right now that can stop the whirlwind of control that we are facing every single day. The New World Order is pitching every means possible to foment and create racial hostility, and there is no major issue about racial hostility. We have a major issue about police brutality, and that much has been going on for years. Why now? Yeah. They needed a new station anyway, and Minneapolis, I heard, was facing some serious cutbacks, so the Mayor Fry, decided to start embracing the Wi-Fi, or the Wi-Fi system, the 5G system. And you'd have to carry one of your emergency carriers if you wanted to avoid being tracked with the new 5G network. Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, is rolling out the 5G network. And they'll be able to track your location with your cell phone. So what you do is you get a box like this at Walmart for $5.79, completely watertight. It'll actually go underwater. Inside, you want to cover it with Mylar. Completely wrap it with Mylar, and inside that, put your cell phone, your whatever your valuables are, if you want to not be tracked by the 5G system. But the 5G system will be able to see every single person out there when you're walking around in plain view. Once it's fully developed, it'll actually give them the ability to not only track people, but actually attack people. And we still don't know about the safety of the 5G network, so we have to assume that they're employing a thing called pencil beam technology. And what pencil beam technology is yeah, no one wants this stuff going on around them all the time. That's what the 5G network's going to be all about. Pencil beam technology will be able to track any single person standing there out in the open and literally take you out. It's more powerful than a gun. Yeah. So why is our president standing around ignoring the dangers of the 5G network, when I've been talking about building safeguards like Faraday shields and limiters? But our president's done nothing. Because he's involved with a very powerful group of people that want to use the 5G network as a weapon. That's why. It's disturbing, isn't it, to have it around your head all the time? Yeah, well, that's what your daily life is, believe it or not. No, we can't play that right now. Don't worry, be happy. It drives a lot of people away from the show. Yeah, the whole thing about white versus black, that just creates more friction. That's exactly what the Illuminati wants. They want us to be divided. That's the whole point. A lot of protests for Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, live stream. Okay, I'll go there. Thank you. We know people are upset. Don't get me wrong. I want people to protest, but, quietly, safely.
And witnessing is
not rioting.
Atlanta and
we got live from Atlanta right now. Let's go there. You can drive around and honk your horn. That's pretty safe. It's a lot safer than getting out of your car. I hope they don't light up the Minneapolis 5G network. That could be very dangerous. It is the first state in the union to acquire the 5G network completely. And Minnesota is, and then Minneapolis is their test center. And the mayor, Fry, he actually embraced this because they were running out of money in Minneapolis. So he said, yeah, come on in and install the 5G network. We need money. Seriously, he's this academic Marxist that became their leader in Minneapolis. They're a very liberal group out there in Minneapolis.
Fulton County, the Atlanta and Fulton County that I know and that I love. And some reasons as to why people believe it. Outsiders are coming in and participating in this. And a lot of it seems to be maybe orchestrated. You go from downtown, and now I live on Peach Street. I just saw probably 5 or 10 police cars headed up Peach Street towards Lennox Square. So if this was a coordinated type of protest, that's not a good sign.
Mr. Pitts, what is the role of Fulton County government in all of this? Give me a sense of how government works tonight and its reaction to what it's seeing. A surprise that we have seen the violence escalate the way we have. What's going on as far as your job and your purpose?
Well, from the point of view of Fulton County government, this is obviously taking place within Fulton County, but so far it is within the city of Atlanta, so it is the city of Atlanta.
We're just playing the same footage over and over and over again. So that's not really a live stream, is it? Jerry, yeah, what's his name, Jerry? His name is Minivan Jack. His name is Jerry. I don't know his last name, but he's really good at explaining things. And he talked about the power of secrecy and how our government's been behaving very, very suspiciously. Minivan Jack is his name. I guess maybe he lives in his minivan. I don't know. Yeah, let me give you a blow-up of the name so you can follow him. He's really good. He's been right on COVID and everything. Yeah, I've enjoyed playing his videos, but you know, I didn't want to take up the recorded broadcast with the videos. So as you know, about a week and a half ago, I had one of my videos taken down 2 weeks ago. And it was the one exposing the Rockefellers and Bill Gates, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, in a big way. I'm having a hard time getting it to upload anywhere. Oh no, a Secret Service officer just got hit with a brick? Oh no, that's terrible. Why don't they wear helmets? Yeah, so an entire 2.5 hour, 3 hour, 2.5 hour video cannot upload anywhere. I find that very weird. I've never had a problem like this before. Yeah, so I'm trying to get a backup copy for you guys of that particular episode, and it's going to be hard. So I don't have a place to put it anymore. None of my uploads work anywhere. Okay, Jack Posobiec on Twitter. Let's see. Yeah, he's a guy that talked about the Attorney General for the Minneapolis area is an Antifa member. That was pretty good. Let's check out Jack Posobiec. He's got a live beat. Okay, here we go. That's the White House, folks. Yeah, so that's the White House. People are very upset at Donald Trump. They want action regarding the officer who allegedly killed George. Yeah, I say allegedly because George Floyd, we never saw him completely checked for dead, and they never gave him any life-saving procedures on the scene. And the strange thing about George Floyd is he actually worked side by side with a guy with the actual officer that allegedly killed him. Very strange. Let me see if I got that over here. Oh, I've got another tier here. Okay, so these two people were interconnected. This is the strange part about the story that's sparking all this controversy across the country. Let's go back to that. Now remember, it's very easy to fake an event. What it looked like was he was expired, but when we look at the guy's knee on his neck, it was actually on his side of his collarbone. Regardless, if George Floyd is dead, I'm very, very sorry. But there's another little side note, is that they picked him up with a transport vehicle, one of those paramedic units, but the cops put him in there. Yeah, let me see if I have that clip for you here. Yeah, it's not really popping up here. Yeah, here's the mayor making a deal on the 5G network 1 year ago. Honored to have Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey president the world's first 5G network launch today that's going to change how we live, work, and play. That was 1 year ago. Yeah. This was the journalist crew that was arrested. CNN put on a big, huge skit where a black journalist was arrested. It was all fake. You could tell it was all staged.
If you're just tuning in, you are watching our correspondent, Omar Jimenez, being arrested by state police in Minnesota. We're not sure why our correspondent is being arrested.
Hang on one. I believe that they're being arrested because it was part of the skit that you guys were supposed to play to make it look like there's a big, huge thing going on. There's a skit. Yeah, it looks stupid. It's so obviously fake. CNN looks like an amateur, like a high school play or something. Klobuchar failed to prosecute George Floyd's future killer, previous conduct complaints. There you go. So if that guy was not prosecuted by Amy Klobuchar, a bad cop was allowed to remain on the force. Believe me, I want justice for George Floyd. I just want to make sure he really did die. Because like I said, they knew each other at that club. Okay, look at this picture, and you tell me what's weird about this, and obviously the person in the video will tell you as well.
Facebook fam, I know this is hard to watch, but I need y'all to pay attention to something that no one seems to be talking about. Now, this is the roughest part of the video. Yes, the man has already passed, but this is when they called the ambulance. Nobody seemed to take notice of something I noticed. All right? So now they're pulling the gurney out right there, as you can see. All right, you're going to get glimpses of this. But I want you to notice something. You're going to come over and see somebody somewhat check his pulse. They're still arguing with him. Just pay attention now. Now, here's where it's at, where I'm talking about. When all this starts to happen, pay close attention to this. That man right there that you can see, that guy in the top of the screen that's about to walk over to the man. He gets out the way. Just look at this. This man who's touching him, all right? Not the officer. The man with the watch on right there. I want y'all to pay attention to something to him. He has a bulletproof vest on, all right? He has an officer's uniform on. No one paid attention to that when the ambulance pulled in. Not one EMT got out of the vehicle. But there's no medical equipment there whatsoever. Nothing. That there were cops who jumped out of the back of that ambulance.
Yeah.
And picked up that man and put him in there. So they didn't even give him medical attention. And those were not the EMT. When they show him, look at that. Those are police officers. Those armed police officers are taking that man away.
Yep.
There is no EMT on the scene. It's like it's a sham.
There you go. Thank you. All right, now if that isn't enough, and then the fact that they both worked together at a club where they both knew each other for a long, long time, if that's not enough to make you think this is like a lot of BS, it could be he's still alive. Yeah, we saw his family. They weren't that upset. Mm-hmm.
This is hard to watch, but I need y'all to pay attention.
Yeah, so his family wasn't that upset. We actually saw his cousins talking about him like it was no big deal. Here's the Floyd family reacting to the problem, and I think we should look at this as keep an open mind. Remember, they just lost their cousin.
A man in a struggle over a gun. Both shootings were.
Your reaction to the 4 officers involved in this incident being fired?
Well, my initial response is, I mean, that's a start. It's definitely not enough, but I'm glad that it didn't take forever for them to see what everybody else could clearly see took place, and that's that they murdered our cousin.
Tara?
It's just shocking. I'm happy to hear that they've been fired, but
She's happy to hear. Okay.
Not enough.
I don't know.
The video is unsettling. It is horrific. Have you watched it yet?
Unfortunately, yes, I have.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Unfortunately, yes, I have. Does that sound like a person suffering from grief to you? I mean, I'm an emotive person. I can empathize with people. I'm not getting that, oh my gosh, I feel your grief kind of thing. Do you?
Watched it yet?
Unfortunately, yes, I have. I watched it first thing.
It's like, yes, I have. Well, maybe she's in on it, you know? Maybe she's got some money. I'm just thinking these two people knew each other at that club. Shuvas and George Floyd. And then you've got the added bonus. And are you ready for this? Many of you thought you recognized that guy, George Floyd. He's a porn star. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they didn't do CPR or even compressions on him. They just put him in the basket like he was like, oh, yeah, he's dead. They didn't even check his pulse. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, he's a porn star. I know. I don't know. I didn't realize it. But, yeah, the guy's a porn star. So George Floyd was a porn star, a.k.a. theoretically an actor. Are you with me on this? They're trying to create a race war in America over an actor who's a porn star who gets killed with a neck injury, but nobody even bothered to give him compressions. Then he knew the guy that put the knee on him. He worked with him for years at a club. Are you getting the picture here? Yeah. You know, it's going to get nuts as long as you keep thinking it's going to get nuts. Everywhere you go, you're going to think, well, this is going to get nuts. I lived through the LA riots. I can tell you, this is not going to get nuts. It's going to calm down. What they're trying to do is they've been tried it many times with Ferguson, Baltimore. They can only get this thing going up to a point. Now they're running a big media hype across the country. Oh, it's happening in D.C. There's probably paid rioters out in front of D.C. right now. Just we brought you that film to show you. Yeah, if you don't like America, just get the heck out if you want to burn it down. Exactly. Exactly. The George Floyd protests have turned into George Soros riots. That's well put, 421. Thank you. Well put. Security and police do not always get along. They have seen, but heads and... there may be an old thing going between the two if you want to believe that there is some sort of a long-standing dislike for each other. Again, I go back to the fact that they knew each other for years. That was not evident during the stop. During the initial stop, it didn't seem like they knew each other, so it's more than likely they were playing along as part of a skit. Yeah, and I seriously don't, from her reaction, I seriously don't think that George Floyd is even dead at this point. I'm really having my misgivings about that.
This morning, and it is unbelievable.
So
unbelievable to see someone suffer in the way that he did, and to have so many people around asking for them to basically allow him to live.
Sharita, have you seen the video?
I actually saw the video. Initially, I saw it before knowing that it was actually my cousin. So I saw the video. I think it was Gayle King was doing the story. And I just remember thinking how devastating this would be for the family who had lost a family member like this, and that everybody could clearly see it. And then maybe 5 minutes after that, I got the phone call letting me know that it was actually my cousin. I didn't watch it again. I tried to, but when it first played and I could hear his voice, I didn't need to see anymore. The first time that I heard him say, "I can't breathe," it was just more than I could take. I couldn't watch any more of it.
What would you want to say to the bystanders who in the video fought very hard to save your cousin's life?
I can't thank them enough. We always see these kinds of things that take place, and we wonder, what would we do if we were placed in that position? And I can only be grateful that there were people there who were advocating for him, and even more so grateful for the person who was there with the camera to capture it, because so many times there aren't any witnesses around. And there is questionable as to, what has happened, and, whether the person was resisting or whether they deserved it, or whatever those things that might come into people's mind.
Yeah, and how come there was a camera there right there at that time? I mean, how many people are standing around waiting? Lights, camera, could we get is Mr. Spielberg here? Okay, bring him in. Okay, do you have the right perspective now? Okay, let's start this up. You're going to pull over George Floyd and push him down on the ground and put your knee on the back of his neck here and make it look like you're stomping on him. Okay. The next door neighbors of Derek Chauvin are on video saying they had no idea he was a cop. Now we're beginning to wonder if he really is a cop. Yeah. That's another side note here. That maybe he was just given temporary deputy status for the crisis acting event.
Where who is? Why, are you worried?
Yes.
What do you got to be worried about? Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Did you
know the Chauvins?
No.
You know what? We didn't. We didn't know he was a cop.
I'm from the Daily Mail. Were they friends with anyone?
Oh, we were just talking about it this morning. Well, this afternoon.
What do you guys think about what happened?
It's terrible.
You guys don't agree with him? Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Who would agree with that?
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
God.
amazing.
My neighbor don't like him.
That's sad.
Nobody likes him?
That's what we just discussed this afternoon.
So did they stay like to themselves? Is that why? Oh.
Who said nobody liked him? Which neighbor? So you talked to him? Why did they?
No one. I shouldn't say we didn't like
Right.
him.
You just didn't know him. Right.
He was very quiet. No one knew him. Didn't have your round two on your dinner? Oh yeah, I think it's time for a second helping. Go for it. It's beefy weefy night. It's very important. My cat has to eat her dinner. The second round.
The wife is
Very nice. I think they're the Belchers. They don't. No, just
What did she say? I think he lives in a dumpster. What? I think he lives in a dumpster. Yeah. He lives in a dumpster out beside my house. He's my neighbor. That's probably true in some areas in Beverly Hills. I can imagine some people are like handing out food to some of the bag people down in the alley. Like Barry Busey, maybe he's out looking for money. Or Mr. David, back home in Cameroon, I didn't know any of my neighbors. You never lived in Cameroon. It's a figment of your imagination. You were brainwashed after you were harvested as a clone. The electrodes were hooked up to your brain, claiming you have a family in Cameroon, but you don't remember anything about them. You are a virtual brainwashed clone of the CIA. The whole Cameroon thing was a story they drilled in your head during your major programming. See, you remember now. You're right, David. Why don't I remember that? Exactly. I helped this guy who's been cloned at the CIA, who's been assigned to our show to attack us. I helped him figure out that he was a clone. I thought it was very helpful. He told us he's trapped there in McLean, Virginia, and he can't get out. They've got fencing all around the property. When he tried to get out one time, they had a guy follow him, and then they took you off. Now you just like the show. Exactly. The neighbors of the supposed cop with the killer knee said that they didn't know he was a cop. They thought he was in real estate. He probably was in real estate. I'm beginning to think the guy wasn't even a cop. We know that there was a cop, St. Paul's cop, who actually went right up to the location. And yeah, we're getting the facts here. An interloper was the guy who broke, with this ball-peen hammer, he went out there, and he's a St. Paul police officer, and he bashed in the windows of the AutoZone. Why would he do that? And we even found out he was working with some young kid, and they were like hanging out together. Yeah, why would he bash in those windows? Because this is a plan by the New World Order to create a riot so they can justify declaring martial law. And yes, if Donald Trump does declare martial law, he could pretty much take away all our rights, line us all up, and have us carted off to FEMA camps within 6 months. Yes, that's true. He has 6 months to justify it to Congress. We knew this was going to happen. When we warned you about Donald Trump being a moron, you should have known or listened to us, but you refused to. You kept saying, no, it's all a Russian hoax, just like Donald did. It's all a Russian lie. It's all it's a big scam against Donald Trump, and he's the one fighting the deep state. Donald Trump is the deep state. He's controlled by the deep state. Mr. Trump isn't playing any chess at all. He's just following orders. I'm telling you, he doesn't have the brains to do even be the orchestrator of this devious, diabolical plan. This is asymmetric warfare created by an AI system called Jade 2.0, but I believe it's now Jade 3.0. He is very dumb. This is an AI system directive. I can tell you that my intelligence gives me the analysis ability that an AI system would have, and I would say from the outside, this is a staging of operative forces necessary to hijack everyone from their home and send them to a FEMA camp, much like the Jews were sent to Dachau and Treblinka and Auschwitz and many other concentration camps in Germany. For the same thing, it's the same group of people that put Hitler in charge are trying to implement this New World Order plan. It's that simple. There's not a lot to it when you realize the key ingredients that you unlock the mystery. Once you know who's behind this, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, our primary focus is the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Beyond that, there's countless other families that are just kind of going along with it. Wink, wink. So we know who's at the core of this is Bill Gates. They got dirt on him because he, of course, had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, which means that they must have had him for some sort of a pedophilic activity, allegedly. Meanwhile, they're using him to put together a plan using high-tech capabilities, readers, RFID readers, that will be able to chip, bag, and tag every one of you prior to your execution. And your freedoms? Bye-bye. Yeah. I guess you didn't realize you had to fight for your freedoms. This is a New World Order power grab. That's what this is. Yeah, Bill Gates is now the largest WHO donor because Trump pulled money out of WHO. I don't believe WHO is an important agent in this operation at this point, now that Trump has alienated us from WHO. Remember, Trump has not thrown the real problem under the bus. Throwing the WHO agency, a foreign nation or a foreign organization that has no real bearing on anything at this point other than their decrees, is really not stopping the forced COVID thing and the forced vax thing, which is coming out of Bill Gates' camp, along with Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and Rick Bright and Robert Redstone of the CDC. All these things have to be addressed directly at that problem. Going after the WHO is kind of like 4 weeks ago. That would have been an important issue, but now it's not. Now it's just something to throw a bone to his Q people. Oh, crowd of rioters attempted to block cameras as criminals that attempted to breach an ATM in Minneapolis in the riot. Yeah, I believe it. They like money. So why would a cop be positioned out there in front of all these people openly doing whatever they can to to create a riot and break through the AutoZone and put a ball-peen hammer through the windows. Well, they want to do it in our face. They're so proud that they're able to do this. They want to do it in our face, advertise it. But now you got a breach of an ATM machine going on in an underground parking garage. They're looking for some cash now that they got the mobs out, and yeah. Now, if Donald Trump really was, inclined to stop this, he would be going out there with guns. But you're not really seeing anybody stop this, are you? No. They actually want this to happen. They want the country to decline. They want it to fall into mayhem. That's why they released 67,000 or 65,000 prisoners recently out of our jail cells. Yeah, they're roaming the country looking for crowds to go viral. This is exactly what they planned. This is all a big, huge New World Order power grab, and they're doing it. Releasing 65,000 criminals into our streets, arresting mom and pop for going to the park with their granddaughter or their children. I mean, come on. Trump is all about outraging. Yeah, Trump is an amplifier. He takes everything and blows it out of proportion.
Your reaction to the 4 officers involved in this incident being fired?
I'm sorry that happened, yeah. I think that if they don't put charges against the one officer, Chavez, and then maybe aiding and abetting on the other 3 officers, I don't think that the people of Minneapolis will be very happy. So we're going to have to see some immediate reaction from the prosecutor. And the longer they wait, the more likely it's going to go on. It'll be like the Rodney King thing all over again. Nobody's going to jail. The riots will continue, and we'll do the same thing we did during the LA riots. And I can tell you, I lived through that time period, so it's not too much to worry about. But remember, these people really want to create martial law in America because they know it's the one thing that would destroy our constitutional freedoms. Ever since we started talking about our rights and our freedoms in this show, they've been putting together their big plan to take over our country. Yeah, the New World Order, whatever that is, I mean, it's kind of funny. Some guy, he said this is the future flag for America. I don't know. But they've been putting this plan together for some time. And they really, really want it to happen as soon as possible. So they put a lot of people in place. All they had to do to create the fear for everybody to stay in their house and wear a mask to go to the market was have one video of some guy who was paid on the side to pretend like this was all real, a skip loader and a couple of white bags. This is the only thing they needed to start the entire COVID-19 thing.
Bodies in the back of a freezer truck, y'all. Please stay inside. This is for real. This is for real, y'all.
So that's all they needed. That got us into the mode of being entrapped slaves waiting to be taken away. And now all they needed was some black guy, maybe working with his friend to fake his death. Black guy being George Floyd, a porn star. Yeah, a full porn star. They're not hearing that in the mainstream media, are you? They get some porn star to do this crisis event. I seriously doubt he's dead based on his cousin's reaction. She was smiling. She's like smirking. I'm so sorry it happened. That kind of thing. We have to assume that this whole thing is confabulated to create the racial hostility factor, which is something the Illuminati has used for years. That's what they do. And then here we are sitting back, and all of a sudden the news, CNN, they're attacking the buildings, the CNN building. Oh my gosh, and the White House is attacked, and people are breaching the fence outside of the Treasury building, and blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah. By the time tomorrow, we should have a full-scale rioting in every city in America, and then martial law by Monday. Yeah, I think so. That's pretty much their plan. At least you find out in advance, right? This is the first time all cells have been activated. Worse, there will be state actors among them. This isn't political, this is worse. Yeah. For once and for all, there needs to be a federal investigation into these paid left-wing radical groups like Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and others that are getting money from, Soros, yeah. They are responsible for extreme violence against innocent civilians, looting and arson. But the reason why they back off, because remember, George Soros is good friends of Donald Trump's. Donald Trump openly said in a 2016 speech during his run for the presidency where Russia helped him, yeah, Donald Trump said to a group of people, don't say bad things about George Soros. He's not the problem. That's what he said. Soros loaned Donald Trump $160 million for a big building in New York. Seriously. The feds basically create the riots. The FBI did it during the free speech movement and the SDS, Students for a Democratic Society. Feds were in there, provocateurs. We know for a fact that the feds and what appear to be anarchists from Oregon came up about 20 years ago and intercepted the WTO gathering against the World Trade Conference. We know that one person died from that, and one person was beaten up and killed. We know that those people were thugs that were paid for by a federal group down in Oregon. I'm not making this up. They're purposely trying to destroy the harmony of our country. Once you realize that, then you know who they are. They are the people who don't even live here. They want to hijack our government and destroy the peace and tranquility we once called America. Remember when everyone was afraid to go outside a week ago? Yeah, wait till next week. You'll be afraid to leave your house. They want to break our will, but they don't even realize we're already mobilized. Our nation is already mobilized. I've been running this show for the past 12 years because I had to. Not because you guys gave me donations, because you very rarely ever did. I've done this because I want to maintain the constant effort to keep the voice of reason rolling. I shall not be stopped. Here's a guy who pulled all the booty he could out of Target, and he linked the baskets together, and he's making a run for it, everybody. Check it out. I'm sure he had paid for everything. He just forgot to get a receipt. Oh, he's got refrigerators. No, what is that? I think you had some fishing poles there. That's pretty smart, yeah. I got a bed frame, yeah. He's all set. Well, you know, suffice to say, the looters got lots of money, but so did the people on Capitol Hill when they took all that money and credit from our country. Yeah, we got looters in Congress like Mitch McConnell, Moscow Mitch, making money on the side for his corporate donors. They said George Floyd worked as a bouncer for 17 years, but he moved to Minneapolis in 2014. Yeah, that makes the story from the woman a little bit weird, yeah. I saw a contradiction. She said she just hired him, and then she said that the cop worked for them for 17 years. I heard the woman saying that the cop was working for them outside for 17 years. And his neighbors didn't even know he was a cop. So he could have been like a security guard, a wannabe cop, making some money on the side, who knows. Rosie's live. She's streaming out there. Okay. Take a look. Rosie's going live with this one. She's all about supporting Antifa. You know, Rosie O'Donnell actually called for anarchy in America. You know that, right? Yeah, she's way out there on the left.
Leave him alone! Leave him alone! Get out of here!
Keep moving, man. New York PD is clearing out the streets. They're trying to get ahead of this problem because they know, the police know that if they have, it's not Rosie O'Donnell? Okay, thank you. They know that if these people gather in mass, it's going to get good. Yeah, if these people gather in mass, they will go after police stations. Crowds have a tendency of becoming mobs, and mobs have a tendency of creating mobocracy. Far different from democracy. The rule of law breaks down when mobs form. Yeah, just the cop worked for 17 years. That's what I gathered from that statement. I don't think I think she's telling the truth that they worked right near each other, but she didn't know if they knew each other. Because she hired both of them, so it must have been a big club that you're not invited to. Well, bear in mind, almost everything you're seeing right now is designed to make you feel either angry toward the opposite race, or angry at cops, or hating Donald Trump, or hating Joe Biden, or hating Nancy Pelosi. All of these media messages are designed to divide you into both categories, much like farm animals are lured into one or the other stall. Moo! Bah. Yeah, so you've got the donkeys going into the donkey stall and the elephants going into the elephant stall right now. You're mad at cops for doing nothing for once? Well, remember, cops are there to make this worse. They want to turn everything into a nightmare. They want it to be a veritable race war. They're trying to move in that direction because, remember, they want martial law. That's their directive.
They knew what was going on the ground. Relaying that to whom they could. Still the question, why did it have to get to this point? I know I sound repetitive, but I really, we want to have answers for you about how it got to this again. During the press conference today, you had reporters from all the TV stations, all the news stations, and the questions were very hard-hitting. They said, what is the plan? Who is in charge? And today we were told by the governor, the state is in charge, and there is a plan now.
But I don't think people understand why we had more news conferences today and a lot of talk, but buildings are burning and firefighters can't get in there to control it.
You want to know why the order for them to stand down went through? Because they wanted the fires to happen. They want the riots. They want this civil unrest. You got to understand, the Illuminati or the New World Order wants to issue martial law. They know that, but I was right the whole time last week, the past few months. I've been saying on our show, they have to declare martial law in order to rescind our constitutional rights. The moron elitists didn't understand that was the case. Now they know it's true. Now they're simply implementing their next stage, which is right out of their playbook: divide and conquer. Yeah, they've got their puppet president who can sit there like a total dick with his mask on, and he can order whatever they want him to do. Oh yeah, he's all set to go. He's a prepackaged New World Order puppet. He has so many debts he has to make a $30 million net interest payment on every month. They got this guy by the short hairs. And if that doesn't work, they can always bring out the sex tape, which did come up in the Mueller report. Mueller said that the Russians blackmailed the president over the sex tape, over the dossier. And you people and Republicans want to deny it. They got him by the short hairs, people. They own him. He's their go boy. He's their, whatever they want him to do, he'll do. So it doesn't take a lot to trigger your fear and anxiety. Like I said, all it took was this to get your COVID-19 anxiety up.
My hand is shaking because it's hard to look at this right here, what I'm seeing right now. It's hard to believe this.
It's hard to believe that they actually have a forklift and some white bags going into a truck. Yeah, that's hard to believe. Were they morgues? Were they bodies? Hell no. They were just like white boxes that they pulled out. All the players are all set to go. The zombie apocalypse is set to go. All the players are ready to go. Here we go. They got everybody ready to start implementing the New World Order plan. You got Governor Beetlejuice, or Mayor Beetlejuice in Chicago. You got the coroner, who's the transgender coroner in Pennsylvania. And you got this director of Los Angeles Health Department who looks like a zombie waiting for the embalming fluid. You want the chart? Daigle.com? Okay. Let's go into the depopulation room, shall we? Welcome to the depopulation room. Hello everyone. I'm so glad we could come to you live here on the Depopulation Day. I'm so glad we could join you. You are here right now. You are in the midst of a global world conspiracy that was divined and developed by the very players who have orchestrated everything in the world's history. It was prophesied by countless books. Fahrenheit 451, The Brave New World, Soylent Green, Animal Farm, 1984, and here we are. You are here in the middle. Now, let us go to Daigle.com where we will find out what the big plan is. Here it comes.
Massive population reduction and economic collapse for the U.S. for years. But it was not until fall 2014 when conspiracy theorists caught on and blew up the story. With archive.org, you can view what the site has broadcasted for the last few years. In late 2008, when they first revealed forecasts, they showed an increase in U.S. population from 304 to 323 million by 2017, with a slight reduction in GDP. In 2009, however, their prediction was changed to a 2020 date, with a population reduction of 11% to 271 million and a GDP down 70%. The forecast trend continued, but by March 2012, the forecast switched to a 2025 date with another great leap in population reduction estimate to 187 million. Last year, they forecasted 69 million people and less than $1 trillion in GDP. This update, which happened within the last 10 days, further reduced population and GDP. Other Western nations are affected, but not to the extent of the United States. Russia has an estimated population reduction, but an increase in GDP. Just 10 days ago, Japan and Germany were updated with a massive population reduction for.
We got a few minutes of Max Egan. We'll play more of this tonight. He was warning of the potential for our country to be descending into martial law and that we'll have 6 months to deal with. Trump has 6 months, if he does declare martial law, to suspend all of our constitutional rights, and he has 6 months to justify it to Congress. Yeah. Here you thought things were getting back to the new normal. Not when these people are trying to destroy our country. They're not fooling around. They'll put out, George Soros will fund all the Antifa riots he can possibly get to turn this country upside down. And our presidents have never, ever prosecuted Soros. Crazy. Well, meanwhile, there's a big story I've been talking about this week. Again, nobody is really talking about it except for me. Cuomo gave immunity to nursing home executives after the big campaign. He got lots of donations. And we know now why Cuomo said a couple weeks ago that he was never going to prosecute anyone for the COVID-19 deaths that occurred in New York. So if somebody killed their grandmother, put a pillow over their face, they get to collect her inheritance. Yeah. And what makes matters worse, CNN pretty much had the story. Cuomo actually says that the New York followed federal guidelines, putting coronavirus patients in nursing homes, sending them to nursing homes. Yeah, he's actually, this is his defense. So this elder side against the older people forced to be around COVID-19 victims spreading the disease, elder side is clearly has been done by at the highest level by the CDC and the coronavirus task force. So that means Dr. Birx, Dr. Fauci, anybody involved directly like Rick Bright or Robert Redstone, they all need to be prosecuted for murder. Because that order, if it is true from the federal government, which it appears to be true, rests the onus of this terrible crime on their shoulders. Now, since the story about the COVID thing kind of disappeared into more experts questioning the authenticity of the case, all these people have gone on record questioning the coronavirus panic, and they're all experts in their field. Now our eyes are now focused on yet a new rack of problems, Minneapolis. protests going on right in front of our eyes, rioting, racial disharmony, all that. This is not by happenstance. This is by intention. Yeah, this is all by intention. And the fact that it happened in Minneapolis where they rolled out the 5G network is going to be very interesting because, remember, they have at their disposal now pencil beam technology. It's funny how both parties blame it on government incompetence. They know exactly what they're doing. Oh, I know. In fact, this is not a bot. This could be a program called the Hegelian dialectic, which has been in operation for over 500 years. The primary purpose is to create problems that only the government can solve. And then the government gives us the illusion that we're making the choice by providing a left versus right perspective. The whole primary focus of this distraction is to weaken the base and keep people from uniting and constantly issue forth barriers to uniting the country. This is all by design. It's actually an ancient methodology that was developed by Hegel. The Hegelian dialectic. It was discussed by Marx, and Joseph Engels, and others. You know, I don't think anyone wants to be encouraging looting. I certainly don't. You need to jail every corrupt-ass person to the full extent of the federal law. True story moves, documentaries about how enforcement corruption. Yeah, well, it isn't the first time. It happened in the Ming Dynasty. People went out and slaughtered the ultra-bourgeois elite. They were killed in their homes. Well, there's a thing about starvation that, you know, a lot of the elites don't understand that when people are starving, they'll do anything. When the Holodrom occurred, the terrible ethnic cleansing of the Ukrainian people, millions of people starved to death. But they were already in a slave state. They already had been disarmed. Much like Hitler disarmed the Jews, Stalin disarmed the Ukrainians. But in our case, we haven't been disarmed. So if their pencil beam technology, if they do choose to weaponize the 5G network, they think that they're going to stop weapons like guns and whatnot. It's never been tested in the field. And it does require line of sight to the actual enemy. So if an enemy is hiding from behind some barrier and has a high-powered rifle, they could hurt the person using pencil beam technology. So if this is what they want, a showdown between old military technology that's been proven and tested with weapons, and they want to try the 5G network out on it, good luck. I mean, it's going to be a pretty sad day for humanity when this is what's going on. But it does look like this is what's kind of we're heading toward. Well, yeah, the coronavirus didn't even kill 100,000 people based on the stats. It looks like 20,000. Well, 80% of the studies of the COVID tests have been inaccurate. So you have to multiply everything by 20% to get the real value. Well, bottom line is the people will do whatever they're told. That seems to be the order of the day. So if the government wants to shut down and create a curfew in Minneapolis to stop this rioting, they could easily do that. But they haven't even implemented a curfew. The governor of, or the mayor of Minneapolis is not even declaring a curfew in Minneapolis. It's absurd. The guy is either weak, controlled, or all of the above. Oh, they did create a curfew, really? But they aren't enforcing it? Well, there you have it. Oh yeah, well, so they have a curfew, they're not enforcing it. Good luck. How do you get people to go back in their house? Well, obviously, they're not using the LRAD system, which is available. They're not using the active denial system, which is available. We have to assume that they want more rioting and looting. That's why the military is standing down. And even the National Guard's been called. They're not doing anything. And now, breaking news. The CDC admits that...
Hey everybody, Josh Siertzen.
Oh, we got a guy who says the CDC admits the virus is almost impossible to die from. Wow, that's good. More information on that. All right, so we've reached the end of the show, everybody. I'll be trimming a few of the pieces together so we can upload this to our YouTube show in the evening. But as you know, every night is completely overwhelming at this point. So managing all of these information streams will involve more watching of videos tonight, so feel free to hang out. Right, and then yet we have the fear of yet another major bioweapon being deployed. Of course I believe it. Yeah, they've got bioweapons that they want to deploy on people. Sure. The people pushing for the vaccines who want to inject us all are also delivering bioweapons. So yeah, they haven't been caught, so of course they're going to deliver another bioweapon. The apocalyptic virus that would make COVID-19 seem irrelevant. Leading scientist warns of the danger of a pandemic triggered by chicken farms that could kill half the world's population. Yeah, just when we seem to be easing out of the crisis, just as the death toll slows and new hospital admissions for coronavirus heads towards zero, just as we begin to allow ourselves the first tentative sigh of relief, along comes a new book by an American doctor who tells all. This is just a dress rehearsal. The real show, The Plague, in which half of us may well die, is yet to come. And more fear-mongering yet to come. There you go. Right. The zoonoses, the scientific term for infections that pass from animal to human. Okay. You know, I don't buy into the fear-mongering. I don't know. I still believe that the first wave of COVID was mostly BS coming out of China. As one of the players in the New World Order, China, Russia, and U.S. oligarchs are working together to create the fear and panic that's slowly taking away your ability to function. Yeah. Triggered by chicken farms. Yeah, of all things. Yeah, it's just a lot of BS. Okay, let's take a look at the chat room celebrities link here.
Hey everybody, Josh Sturtson, a World Alternative Media.
All right. Here we go. Thank you for coming in, everybody. We are always available every night from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. We do know that there's been a lot of deception. This guy right here, just to recap, he was outed. He was running around with a ball-peen hammer. He's a St. Paul police officer. They wanted to start this riot really bad, so they're using, the New World Order is using guys like this, actors, to start the riot. So that's what has happened. And then George Soros is funding the Antifa groups that are coming in and starting more riots around the country. So again, we didn't deal with this last time. Donald Trump's good friends with George Soros. If you still think Trump is stopping the deep state, think again. They're ready to utilize all of Soros's money and then pay these people to go out and create more havoc just to initiate the martial law sequence. Yeah. This is right out of their playbook. I mean, we know that this is what they're doing. It's no ifs, ands, or buts. The problem is we're a small network with very little coverage here in the U.S. Worldwide, we're heard, but in the U.S., hardly anybody knows what we're doing. The mainstream media, they're all about fanning the flame of fear and racial hostility and more danger and revolution and violence. And, oh yeah, you're going to hear CNN run the story until it's like upside down. Meanwhile, we know we've got the worst possible people running for president. Donald Trump, the man who wore a mask one day out of 67 or 75 days of lockup. One day he wore it, then he refuses to wear it again. Yeah. And Joe Biden putting his foot in his mouth so many times that now we're beginning to think that he's smells Jimi Hendrix. Excuse me while I sniff this guy. But no, I really believe that Joe Biden is going to probably end up babbling to himself by the time the election rolls along. it's a sad thing. I mean, he's got galloping dementia. It's obvious to doctors. Donald has rampant stupidity, which is obvious to doctors, as well as a syndrome called narcissistic, malignant narcissism. And 27 doctors says that Donald suffers from malignant narcissism. So between the two of them, we really don't have any choice but vote for third party and write my name in the upcoming election. That's our best shot, in my opinion. Nobody's going to go after these scumbag, corrupt people like I am. I will go at them with a vigor no one has ever seen before. I have the flame burning inside of me to go after this corruption with no worry about my future, because I can tell you that if we don't risk our lives right now, if I don't risk my life doing what I do every day right now, you won't have a life to live or to risk. None of us will. So we really have to step up now and fight for our rights by being civilly disobedient. Do whatever you have to. Go to the store. Buy some things that are not on your essential list. Give it a shot. All right. You wear the mask, like Dr. Fauci said. It's the symbol of slavery. Yeah, I know. I wear the mask because I believe that they are using fibers, nanofibers in the atmosphere. Yeah, I do. Okay, Freedom Friday has been one of the roughest Freedom Fridays we've had in a long time. We've got lots of questions and not a lot of answers. But don't buy the lie that they're pitching. They want you to remain terrified and question nothing and stay at home. Call your legislator. Get them on the phone. You'd be surprised. A lot of them have phone machines, and just contact your legislator. Tell them you want some sort of a redress to what's happening. You don't want this to fall into a martial law. Make yourself known. Speak out. You can go to your phone book and look up your local legislator. The number's right there. You just have to call them. Leave a message. If more and more people do that, they'll get the message. They will. They just don't get enough phone calls from you, the constituents. So you have to step up and do your job and ask them what you want for your freedoms to remain intact. It doesn't happen on its own. You have to actually, freedom is like a muscle. You actually have to work it. All right, this is David Sponheim, Mr. Right, signing off. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, it's been a long stretch here. We'll keep going. Tomorrow we kick in with another set of news stories. Hopefully we'll manage them a little better. Tonight was kind of like a spattering. Thank you. Good night.
My feet, my heart stops to beat, cause you make me melt away. You're Mr. Right, too good to be true. My world around, cause you're the peace I find. We found you sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat, cause you make me melt away. Mr. Right, too good